I'm waiting for the thing. I'm sorry, YouTube. Can someone add FCC adding flight or considering phones in planes? Because apparently that's a big to do. Everyone thinks that's a bad idea. Everyone
Sure, I got it.
It's still preparing. I'm sorry. I'm waiting for YouTube.
Last week you started a half hour earlier.
Celebrities get me out of bed on time. This is the longest it's taken I can remember. You have to hit start preview and then okay, and then it says we're preparing your stream. Please wait a moment.
He doesn't consider us as celebrities. That's offending.
Non-Navajo celebrities, I should have said. I'm sorry.
What about award-winning photographers?
There you go. That's right. You were on the cover of a famous
the Navajo magazine.
niche calendar.
Navajo calendar.
I'll be by later to steal.
Did I show you?
I'll be by later to steal your land.
Did I show you my autographed picture of Muhammad Ali that he autographed for me?
No.
Yeah. He actually put my name right on the picture and autographed. I took a picture of him, and he liked it so much he had a copy sent to his brother, and he autographed it for me with my name on it.
That's awesome. Talk about a legend. This is crazy. It says we're preparing your live stream. Please wait.
It's in my Muhammad Ali album on my Google my Google albums. I took about 20, 30 pictures of him. I spent a week with him at Caesar's Palace when he was training for the fight with Holmes. I have a picture of his baby, his wife holding his baby. And she's a boxer now.
Man, you just gotta wait because you can't restart the same URL.
Huh.
Are you aware of any issues right now, Harold?
Did you see this post that just came out? Katie Couric is going to Yahoo.
Yep.
It would be funny if she went to Google.
Can you
guys are interested? If you're interested in flash drives, they have a 60% discount on Amazon. You can get a USB 3.0 flash drive for $14. I just ordered one.
Cool.
Man. Come on. Fuck.
Can you refresh like you can hit F5 or something or no?
I'm not sure how risky that is.
No, because it's not on your computer. It's on.
Yeah. The problem is if I screw this thing up and I have to start over, it's a whole different URL, and that thing's ended. And then the event is wrong, and then I got to edit that, and then it's another half an hour.
But if it's frozen, it might have a
And as I learned in the last Vic and Dotra thing, if you don't have the video on the event, people get pissed.
Do you
Okay, here we go. Hang on one sec.
Okay.
All right. Just a moment now. Here we go. Welcome, everyone. This is Google Plus Week. Welcome, everybody. I'm Dan McDermott to our program, Google Plus Week. Alan Furstenberg is here in New York. Welcome, Alan.
Hey, Dan.
And we have Mr. Harold Carey at the Navajo Nation. In I forget what state, Utah? I forget. Where are you? He's frozen. He's in the north. We have Pam Adger in Menifee, California, who's eating something and is muted. So anyway, it's gonna be a long night.
Yeah.
One's frozen, one's muted, and Alan's leaving.
Yeah,
so,
I was frozen for a second.
Yeah. Alan Furstenberg, this is, as you know, you have to leave in just a moment, and you'll be back. So this is the 50th. We have a bunch of tech topics and stuff lined up. But first, I wanted to just make note and get some reflections on the 50th anniversary of the assassination of John F. Kennedy, the first Catholic president in the United States. I think he was the youngest president. And I've spent some time watching, even as I was driving, I was listening. Different chat. I know CBS is running a live stream for 4 days. They're still at it. So what are your thoughts on this? And just anything, Alan? I know you got to leave in a moment.
I don't know. It's it's always interesting to see anniversaries as they come up and as they get celebrated. I think this is probably one of the biggest news stories of its time, and it has the distinction of being recorded when it happened. So this is probably one of the biggest news stories, one of the first big news stories of the 20th century that was captured live as it happened. And that's kind of interesting and distinctive. I think I watched a little bit of the CBS coverage today, and it's interesting to see. We've all seen Walter Cronkite's comment when he broke the news to the nation, but it was interesting seeing that in context, seeing what happened just before he was handed that wire and what happened just after it, and how everything happened. That was all kind of interesting to me.
It was, because both of us are too young we weren't born yet. So it was interesting, and I assumed that no one knew that he was dead. But if you looked at the footage right up to the moment where Dan Rather called in and said he's dead. But
even then
there were many
saying,
hints.
We have this, but it's not official. We don't
Right.
know. We're waiting for official reports. By the way, Dan, we're not seeing the video on YouTube yet.
That I can believe. Let me see.
And I will turn it over to Craig, Harold, and Pam.
Okay. It says, I think there's a delay, and so hopefully it'll work itself out.
It's been 3 minutes.
Are you guys live?
We
Yes.
are live.
Well,
We're live right now.
we're
Live
we think-
and living color?
maybe not.
Well, the last time this happened, it ended up fixing itself, because there's always like a 30-second delay. So I will proceed as though the world is not coming to an end, and be cautiously optimistic for a couple more minutes.
I don't blame you.
So we have 11 viewers watching a please stand by screen. Obviously, there's not a whole lot going on tonight.
That's intriguing stuff.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna tell Linda we are live. We are live, but YouTube has a big delay, I think. How's that?
Yeah.
How loud is my overhead fan? Is it pretty bad or
About like that.
pretty bad? Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
I'll mute then just when I'm not talking.
So we have how ghetto.
Huh.
So I'm going to refresh the player screen to no avail. All right, well, what the hell? Let's just, worst case, we'll have a nice private hangout.
Sure. That's the worst case.
Yeah. So anyway, all right. So I guess Pam, do you have any thoughts? I mean, you were too young as well. You are too young to have been there
Not me.
or remembered it. So let me ask
Yeah,
Pam first, and then
I
I'm going to
mean-
save Harold in case we have to restart. I want to get Harold fresh for the second stream.
I am too young, and I have seen some documentaries, and you know, every year I remember growing up, and every year my parents would talk about it, and you know, they knew where they were when it happened. You know, everyone who's old enough to have been conscious at that time seems to know exactly where they were at that time. I think kind of like contemporarily, most of us know where we were on 9/11 when we heard about 9/11, you know, and it was definitely a shocking thing for the entire nation, and he was very well liked, very charismatic, and it was a big blow to the entire country, you know. But yeah, that's pretty much my thoughts. I haven't watched a lot of the coverage over the last couple of days, but I have caught some here and there.
Okay, so let me update our stream here, and I don't know. I'm recording this locally, so worst case scenario, we have the show in the can, right?
Yeah.
So we just may have fewer live comments than usual. So anyway, okay, Harold, you were how old when this happened, and where were you when it happened? What was going on? And just tell us, give us the long version of what happened from your perspective.
Yeah. See, I was at Altaloma High School. It was It was the first year of the school. We just built the school, and I was a sophomore in high school then. And then we were walking outside, and then all of a sudden, the loudspeaker came on. You know how they have loudspeakers for the whole school, and they started broadcasting. Back then, we didn't have television sets, so they started broadcasting the radio broadcast. And on the news there, and so we basically first heard, we were all in school, and first we heard on the radio broadcast that the president was shot, and then everybody was real upset and stuff like this, and then we went to the class, and all the classrooms in the whole school did nothing. We all sat there and listened to the radio, and then all the girls in the classroom, every single one of them was crying. Every single girl in the classroom was crying. I can't remember if they announced he was dead before I got home or not, but it was just amazing how the whole school completely stopped, and everybody was so upset. I just remember, the thing I remember the most is every single girl sitting there crying.
Tell me what it was like, Harold, when he was president, because my dad said he was a beloved guy, and we'd hear about Camelot, and we hear about the mystique and the majesty of the Kennedy family back then. Tell us what that was like. How was he viewed? And I guess you were a little guy, so you probably weren't political. But
no.
But just as far as,
well,
you know,
like I said, he was really, really liked tremendously. Like say, my dads and stuff, I guess they weren't real Republicans or Democrats, but everybody seemed to like him. The coolest thing about it is what he would. This is something that never happened before with a president. He would play football on the grass with his kids, his two little kids. There was pictures every day of him playing with his little kids and throwing footballs and stuff, and just the whole country was absolutely in love with his kids, and watching him around, playing with him and stuff. It was just, he was really, really liked by everybody, and it seemed like, the Democrats and Republicans both seemed to like him. There wasn't a lot of controversy on him and his family. I guess the political issues were a little bit different, but he was extremely loved. Now, so what happened next is right after that, like I said, we went home, and you're watching this stuff, and then you see the two people you watch, of course, Cronkite was the first one, and he's sitting there crying, and he announced that he got the news that the president had died, and we saw this live. And then also at the same time, there was two newscasts. It was Huntley and Brinkley. So we had Huntley and Brinkley pictures of them doing it, and then also Walter Cronkite. Of course, we were watching Walter Cronkite all the time for the news at that time. It was the most watched of all the stations.
Yeah, I was watching that, and Cronkite is, we talk about a statesman-like figure, and I think that's the only time I've ever seen him lose it on the air. The only time I've ever lost it I can remember was after the Sandy Hook shooting, when we were talking about it, and I completely lost it on this program or the Android show, whichever one it was. But that was it was tough for those guys when he found out he pronounced dead, because it was at 12:30 Dallas time that he was shot, and then at 1 p.m. he was pronounced dead, and I think about a half an hour after that, roughly, Cronkite got the official word, and that's when he lost it. He was pretty composed when he announced that he had been shot, because he had repeatedly said that so-and-so's reporting that he was shot, but it isn't confirmed yet. And that went on for about 10 minutes, and then finally Dan Rather called in and said, yeah, he's been shot. So it wasn't a sudden thing, but then when he got that bulletin, so Craig Shipp, you remember this, you were a little guy too. What are your memories?
Well, I was in school, and I just remember everything being disrupted, and I believe we were sent home early. I don't remember all the details on that because I was only like, 5 years old. So, but yeah, it was a big deal, and everybody just stopped in their tracks what they were doing, and but I was pretty little, so I don't remember a lot of details. I do remember the funeral and the horse and things like that, watching it on TV, but not a lot of other details, and I don't remember anything really about whether or not Kennedy was as well liked as people say he was, and so forth. I've read various places that maybe he wasn't quite so liked. Of course, anytime somebody has a tragic end like that, the history sometimes is written a little differently than it might be written otherwise. But I just don't know enough about that to know one way or the other how well liked he was or wasn't.
Yeah, I think it was very much like Ronald Reagan, that everybody didn't like his policies, but everybody liked him as a person, the same as Ronald Reagan. Most people didn't like his policies, but they liked him as a person.
In fact, there was a full-page ad that's controversial now, the day he arrived, or that day, I think, comparing him. I forget. Does anyone remember what that was? It was a full-page ad in the local paper saying that he was like a traitor to the country or something. And I saw stuff. There's an article today that kind of made me angry. It said Ron Fournier brought it to my attention. He tweeted it, and it said something like that the Tea Party of today has its roots in 1963 Dallas. This, the strongest conspiracy theory I've heard that makes sense to me is that the mafia was behind this because Bobby Kennedy was going after the mafia. Now we have no idea. No one's talked. No one's spoken, but I would, in my opinion, as someone who's completely not qualified to offer an opinion, but talks all the time, so I'll offer one. I would say it was either that or it was just this lone kook, and so there's a lot of there's an undercurrent of capitalizing on this for political purposes that I don't like.
Yeah. Yeah, but when
capitalizing on it for a whole lot of reasons, not just political. I mean, the media capitalizing on it, everybody capitalizing on it, anybody capitalizing on it any way they can. This show capitalizing on it.
Yeah, at the time that he wasn't like most of the presidents that you see now. He wasn't very liberal in his fiscal policy. He was supply side economics type guy. And he was really into working for the country. Like his famous line, it says, "Ask not what you can do for your country can do for you, but what you can do for the country." He was very, very liked I guess you'd say, very patriotic.
He certainly was a staunch anti-communist.
Yeah, but what exactly does that mean? What you can do for your country? What does he mean by that? Does he mean people should work for the government? What does he mean by the country? What is the country, right?
No, he was basically, when he was talking about that, he was trying to get across that people shouldn't be on welfare, and that you should go basically that was the whole point of that. You should basically help the country instead of having the country help you.
I don't know the context of the speech.
That doesn't sound like a Democrat at all, then.
I know he was. That's what I said. That's what he meant when he said that. He was really into getting out there and working hard and not taking government assistance. That came along with Johnson after him. That switched.
Yeah, he certainly was for volunteerism and that sort of thing, which I'm for. But I would take that to mean, I don't know the context, but I would take it today to mean don't sit on the couch waiting for your next government check.
Yeah, that's exactly what it meant.
So I found it fascinating. I'll tell you an amusing story. My dad was on duty. He was worked for the U.S. government in Asmara, Ethiopia, where my oldest sister Kelly was born, the one who climbed Mount Kilimanjaro for her 50th birthday. And so he was the watch officer. This is back when they did Morse code and stuff. And they got a telegram. He was on duty. I don't know if he was at the embassy or a base, whatever it was. And the telegram came in, the president has been assassinated in Dallas, Texas. So he had to reach the generals, and in Ethiopia, whatever time it was the evening. So he had to call the officers club to get a hold of them. And he had to tell the generals and the diplomats and stuff that the president had been killed. And he said, the amusing part of this is he said, and then they shut the officers club down. He said, the one time when they all needed a really stiff drink and they closed the bar. But he said he liked Kennedy. He said he was a beloved guy. He said that he was, as you said, very different. And it was interesting looking at the interview. I was watching some of the CBS stuff today, not much because I was really busy, but Eisenhower was interviewed. They all the reporters referred to him as general. And I found that interesting, so I looked that up. And apparently he preferred that title over president. So I think the only 5-star general we've had since, or concurrent, I guess, was Omar Bradley. I think that's like the head commander of everything. And he found that title to be superior to the presidency, which is interesting. Because normally you'd refer to, if you had Bill Clinton on, or George H.W. or George W., you'd say Mr. President. But they all said general this, general that. And I just found that interesting. The first time I thought it was a slip-up. And then the second and third reporter said the same thing. And so it must have been his preference. Because clearly when you have a dignitary like that, the advanced people, it's clear what you're supposed to refer to them at. You curtsy at this point, blah, blah, blah. But I thought that was interesting. And the technology was fascinating to watch because they didn't have videotape then. Audio was probably wire recorders. And they were filming stuff. And I think the last outfit to use actual film, I think, was 60 Minutes, literally into the 90s. They switched from film to video. I remember that was a story in one of the videography magazines that I read. And but they would say, we just have this film just in. And I guess my question for Craig, we'd see these things. So-and-so just got, like, the interview with General Eisenhower, deferring to his preferred title, when he reflected on it, they said, we've just got this film in. Then they would load the film, and then you'd see it kind of like Super 8, kind of flipping up and down, and then it would finally catch, and then you'd see it, and then they'd go back to, a shot of Cronkite with his earpiece, his big headphone thing, and his hairy arm, and the whole deal. How long does it take, Craig? Obviously, the technology you used was more advanced, but what's the quickest you can turn around actual, 5-10 minutes of film and develop it to throw it up on a network newscast in a time of crisis like this? That's interesting. It's not like today where you can send something from your iPhone, you know. Is Craig with us?
Back
He
in
seems to be muted.
back in the day, can you hear me now?
Yep, you're fine. Go ahead.
Yeah, yeah.
Back in the day, I don't know how long it would take them because I never dealt with. I dealt with still photography and film, and that could be turned around relatively quickly. But I don't know about video. You know, the motion picture cameras and that kind of film, how long it would take. I'm sure it would take a number of minutes at minimum. But that's a good question. But obviously, the transporting it is probably the biggest issue. If it's shot at a certain location and it has to be transported somewhere, that's probably the biggest problem. Once you get it there, then actually developing it and all that is probably a relatively quick process. But I'm sure it's minutes, a number of minutes. Is it 10 minutes? You know, for a 5-minute thing? I don't know, but it's.
Have you ever processed film? I mean, actual movies? Not, you know,
Not
motion
no.
picture?
I only dealt with still photography.
I'm sure they have some sort of thing. It's not like with stills where you'd have the you know, the different tubs, and we all learned that in photography class when we were kids. And you'd stick it in with the first tub, then the second thing, then you turn the lights on at the end.
Yeah.
And then,
I have
so I'm
no
sure they have
idea
some
how
sort
they
of
did
thing.
motion picture film. That'd be a good question for somebody that maybe you have somebody in the audience that dealt with that. But I have no idea what the process was on that.
We actually have no audience right now because we have 13 viewers who are watching a Please Stand By screen. So this is the place to be, apparently. Yeah, I saw a neat thing on the Canon website years ago, and there was a photographer who did sports guys, and so he was on the like 50-yard line, and he was sent out. They were doing a cover story about some particular player. And so he had like 3 or 4 different cameras with different lenses, so he could quickly switch depending on where the guy was and not have to switch lenses in the field. And he actually would go to the nearest airport and had a special envelope or whatever, and with the cards. And he would, because the internet wasn't up to, you know, today's standards, and he would drop it off at the airport, and they would fly it to Sports Illustrated so that they could start, you know, prepping it and do posts and stuff and get it ready for the magazine. So the logistics of this are really something, and it's just I found it fascinating to watch the coverage, and like Walter Mondale, when he first showed the first photograph, and it was literally a photograph of Oswald. My God, I almost said Liddy. When he first showed G. Gordon Liddy's picture. But he showed the first picture of Oswald. It was actually, they had a photograph that was developed, and then they put it on some kind of back mat, and then he was just holding it up on the screen, like, we have the first photograph of Lee Harvey, of Lee H. Oswald, Leo H. Oswald. It's really something. And the graphics, you know, when they had, you know, CBS News Update, and it was like something in magic marker, and they would just have a camera on it, you know, it was like on a poster board. I mean, it was just really...
You know, to me, what's interesting about all of this is that I think we're going to head back to that. We're going to go full circle, because what's going to happen is a lot of these high dollar operations, which you and I kind of disagree on this, but I think I'm going to end up being right. A lot of these high dollar operations are going to go away, and what we're going to have is a lot of low dollar, you know, shoestring operations that are going to be reporting news and information, and that's where people are going to be getting their information, and it's going to be good enough, but it's not going to be the polished professional stuff that we're used to on these nightly news with all the graphics and all the different things, because it isn't going to be able to be supported. But I think that people are going to get the information direct from sources, and it's going to be better information in the long run, and won't be tainted. It won't have bias and all those kinds of things, or it'll be easier to ferret that out. So I think in the long run it'll be better, and it'll be exciting times ahead.
I think that you underestimate the ability of, and then I'll go to Harold. I think you underestimate. We agree that every single high dollar old school media operation is in jeopardy. We agree on that. And speaking as a high dollar legacy media operation, I am qualified to talk on this topic. but I think you underestimate the ability of innovators to come up with ways to generate revenue delivering content with new media. You're one of those examples. Now you can do it on a budget. It costs you far less than CBS.
Yeah, but
to cover.
if you look at the piece that I did last night, for example, at the photography and fashion show thing here at the Ringling College, that is not. Nobody would call that professional work, but a lot of people would look at it that are involved with that event and involved with the school and actually have looked at it and like it and enjoy it, and it's good enough for them. And so the term I like to use is good enough. If it's good enough to satisfy the people that are involved with whatever it is you're talking about and they're happy, then it doesn't matter that a lot of other people might not be happy, right? They can watch something else. There's going to be something else they might be into that they can watch that's going to be good enough for them.
Yeah, so, pictures of people at a circus thing or whatever are fine, but look at this particular event, and hang on one second, Harold. Look at this particular event. You had the president assassinated. There were wild conspiracy theories for years. They still exist today. I think a guy has a new book out. You know, there's been thousands of books written about this, with all kinds, the grassy knoll, the man in the umbrella, everything under the sun. Castro did it, the mob did, you know, and who knows what happened, because the guy who did it was shot.
And I would suggest that
by a guy with cancer.
Nowadays, we would know a lot more, I would suggest.
You think that with all of the powers of professional journalists combing into this thing, that allowed all these, not allowed, but coincidental that all these conspiracy theories were propagated, you think that if it was a bunch of bloggers instead, that it would be more better quality coverage?
I think we would I think we would have a lot more information to go by. I think we would have had a lot of people with cell phones shooting videos. I think we would have had a lot of people shooting stills. We would have had a lot of audio recordings. I think we would have had a lot more information to go by.
That's not an apples to apples comparison, because we're talking about 1963.
You can't compare. You can't compare it, Dan. You can't compare it. It's a different time now.
But I'm talking about.
That's my point. My point is people are empowered to provide the information and to provide a lot more information, and there's going to be people that are going to be able to provide information direct from them to the consumer, whereas before you had all these middlemen that were involved. And this is going to be much more exciting to me, to be able to have people bring the information direct. Just like when Audrey was interviewing those people last night, and she was involved in the event. She was one of the organizers of the event, and she's able to interview other people that were organizers of the event that were involved, the people right there, okay? That is on-the-spot, real, direct information, uncensored, unfiltered, just the true data. And that's what we're going to be seeing. And yes, people can then parse it later and so on and so forth, but we're going to have a lot more data to go by. And so I think we're going to have more accurate information. People aren't going to be able to taint it and slant it and manipulate it for their own purposes, which is what the mainstream media does now. That's going to go away, and they're going to go down the drains just like the dinosaurs and the slime balls that they are. Let them go down the drain. The sooner the better.
Okay, so you don't have any strong opinions on this. You're just... okay, my final thought, and then Harold. I apologize, Harold, but just to answer Craig, who's attacking me, I would say that my fear is that there are times like the Iraq War or a presidential assassination or what have you, when it's nice to be able to choose among the various media sources that have resources who can send someone out there to cover it. And you can choose, like, are you a right-winger and you're going to watch Fox, or are you a liberal and you're going to watch MSNBC, or you're going to watch CNN or BBC or what have you, and you can choose among them. Now, in defense of Craig's...
Yes, if you're looking at it as entertainment, yes. But if you're looking at it as getting true information, accurate, quote, news, right, then no, it's not a good source.
You don't think that there's any value to any journalist out there in the world who's not a blogger for free?
Any value to any of these big operations, because it's all about money for them. It's all about retaining viewers. They'll do anything. They're desperate. and I don't trust them. I don't trust them as far as I can throw them. I would much rather have the information direct from somebody involved in whatever it is, whatever's happening, somebody on the ground right there that's seeing it, that's talking about it, maybe 2 or 3 or 5 people. I would much rather have that information and then parse through it and then make my own decision based on all of this information than to hear what some mainstream media guy sitting in New York City in some studio has to say about it. That's of no value to me whatsoever.
You think Walter Cronkite and Mike Wallace and all those guys were on the take?
No value
Eric
whatsoever.
Sevareid, zero.
No value whatsoever. No, I don't believe them. I don't trust them. I would much rather have it direct. Back then, you didn't have a choice because you couldn't get it direct. But now you're going to be able to have somebody with a cell phone right there shooting a video, getting the audio, getting the video, and getting it up. And then if you have several people shooting the same thing, they can't all be lying, and they're right there. That to me is much more valuable, and I would rather have that than one guy sitting in an office in New York saying what he thinks.
Harold Carey, the floor is yours. Speak as long as you want.
Well, I want to tell you what was really like back then. This was really interesting. You hear things about, oh, well, the Super Bowl was the most watched show in history. Well, right after the assassination, when these things started happening, every single person in the whole United States was watching the television, and when especially the film that you see all the time is right after assassination, they're bringing Oswald in, and then as they bring him in, they have every single camera, all 3 networks were there, and they all have their camera set up, and as they bring him into the jail, Ruby comes and shoots the guy live. This is live. He shoots the guy live on television with all 3 networks watching. You can imagine what that would be like. And then, and then after that, you find out and so that would start the conspiracy theory. And then Ruby gets killed in jail a little bit after that.
Well, he died of cancer, didn't he?
He died of something. But yeah, the conspiracy things was he didn't go to trial.
See, here's the thing. This is what lends itself to the mafia conspiracy, because Ruby allegedly had some kind of ties to rough characters, but he owned a nightclub, right? And yeah. I'm a former nightclub owner and a former journalist. The only thing I haven't done is I haven't been a lawyer. But Ruby may have. The theory is, what if Ruby knew he was dying of cancer? Because he died like 6 years later, I think. He was convicted and sentenced to the death penalty for killing Oswald, and but so you had Oswald, who was this idiot, patsy guy. They put him up to it, and then Ruby aced him so he couldn't talk, and then Ruby did so because he knew he was going to die of cancer. So that's the theory, right? I mean, I have no idea if any of that's.
Look,
whatever.
But can you imagine
that? It makes it's enough of a plausible case to where you could sell some books. Yeah. Maybe, Craig, we're in the wrong business. We should be writing conspiracy theories about the Kennedy assassination.
Yeah, but can you imagine? This is the first time, though, that all 3 networks were showing the same video, and they had a live shooting on that. That was just. Can you imagine? So obviously, you got 100% of the viewers watching this live, him come through there live and getting shot.
I don't even know why they even had a trial. Everyone's, Can you imagine Craig being being Jack Ruby's defense attorney, and
this is
trying
why
to explain he didn't kill Oswald when the whole country watched.
This is why these networks. Well, if he had the dream team that OJ had, he would have probably got off. So this is why the networks are so powerful. Were so powerful is because they had that in effect monopoly. Yeah, there were 3 of them, but still they controlled everything. And then there were a few major newspapers, and people that owned a whole bunch of newspapers and kind of had this sort of a monopoly. And now the internet is blowing the lid off of all of that, and I think it's going to be a good thing. Again, I think we're going to get better information because you're not going to have all these people that are tainted for all different reasons, and I would rather get the information direct, just like the Twitter feeds that we follow. Like New Media Jim, for example. I love seeing some of the photos he posts and different things that are direct from like the White House lawn or whatever. And I take that when he shoots a picture or whatever and he posts it, I take that as being legitimate and accurate. So that's the kind of thing that I like, and I like to hear direct from people that are involved in something. And now people can do that. They can set up a Twitter feed and they can post direct. They don't have to send a press release out to NBC and hope that NBC does the press release as they sent it, right? So it's a whole new world, and I think it's exciting, and I think it's all good. It's not good.
Well, Dan, what you guys have been talking about happened during the Spanish and American War. Pulitzer and Hearst were both competing for they were the only two things in the world back then. The only two newspapers was Pulitzer and Hearst, and they kept competing for headlines, and that was how yellow journalism got started, and those two created the Spanish-American War. There would have never been a Spanish-American War with the sinking of the Maine and all that stuff if it wasn't for that yellow journalism of those two newspapers competing to have the biggest stories and how bad Spain was and all that stuff of killing all the people over there and Cuba and all that stuff.
That's right, and we don't know how much of the so-called journalism that happened after that, how much of that was all tainted too. For all we know, everything about the Kennedy assassination could have all been tainted. We don't know because we weren't there, right?
We don't even know if we really landed on the freaking moon.
That's right. And so the problem is these people have no credibility. That's the problem. And they've proven that they have no credibility. So hopefully we're coming into a better time when we're going to have a lot of sources of information, and we can choose those that are credible, and we can follow them, and the ones that aren't credible will die on the vine, maybe, because people see through them, and there's going to be a lot of crowdsourcing of information and a lot of ways to figure out what's true and what's false.
Okay, let me go to Sheila. Your mic's muted, so if you could unmute your mic. Let me ask you if you have any thoughts on this. I don't know if you appear to be too young to have remembered it, but...
Thank you, Dan. I think I was maybe 50 years ago. I was 6.
So what are your thoughts? What are your memories? What do you think about today? This is kind of... I remember the 10th they had the anniversary of Pearl Harbor, the 50th anniversary of Pearl Harbor, and then they had the 10th anniversary of 9/11. So these monumental epic events.
It's
this
also
one I think is kind of the biggest I remember.
Of C.S. Lewis of dying.
The author of the
Narnia,
the
Chronicles of Narnia.
Chronicles of Narnia.
Yep.
The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, which actually is book 3. Like George Lucas, he wrote the 3rd book first, and then or whatever episode Lucas wrote. But there's a 6-book series, and it's excellent. I highly recommend it. What do you think? What are your thoughts? What are your memories first, and then what are your thoughts today as you look back? Just whatever came to your mind today as you thought about it.
My memories are very, very vague. But I just know, watching my parents as they were watching the news and things like that. But it was big for years, The assassination was kind of a sombering time for all of us. So and now, just like it's a memory for me, distant memory. But I'm kind of like with Craig too. It's like we have more technology at our fingertips now than we did way back then. So that's my thoughts.
Okay. Let me see who we got here. We got Pam is doing something. Craig's gone. Alan's gone. Anthony's here. Anthony, are you available?
Harold is leaving.
Harold's rolling out?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Thanks for chipping in, Harold.
Yeah, I can stay for about 5 more minutes. I got it.
Just give me 5 minutes of your final thoughts, Harold. I'm trying to post it. Here's what I'm doing. I'm trying to type an update for folks who are trying to watch this, and there's a glitch. For those of you watching afterward, you won't understand what I'm talking about, but I set the YouTube live stream up, and YouTube says everything's fine. It's a good quality, 4,000 kilobits per second, etc. But the player's not working, so nobody can watch it live. And so there's quite a few people who are trying and messaging me. So I'm trying to do that post. So if you could kind of carry this for a couple minutes while I type this, I would appreciate it.
Okay.
Oh well, Craig's back too, so he can come. Yeah, well, what? Like I say, I was. It was really a big thing in my life. Like everybody says, you really can remember these things. There's a few things in life that you can remember every single minute that happened during that time. I can remember the classroom I was in. I was in my math class, and we had the little tables there, and everywhere I looked around me, all the girls were crying, and that thing just stuck with me all my life, is to seeing all these people. I remember that real carefully, and I remember the second we were out on the grounds, and they had the broadcast being broadcast on the outside. When you went outside to eat lunch and stuff, it was broadcasting through all the speakers. The radio was telling you exactly step by step what was happening. And then from that time on, every minute you were on the television, that whole day, everybody in the whole United States was watching television live, and nobody left the television. That you had on all the stations. You were flipping from this station to that station, because there was 3 of them, and you were trying to get the latest news from everything. And you were basically, there were just 2 stations that people watched. They just watched Cronkite and Huntley Brinkley, and so we were just going back and forth and watching those things, and everything was in black and white back then.
Tell us about the timeline. Tell us about the timeline, because we know that Kennedy was shot. We know that Oswald was charged with it, and then we know and arrested for it. And then as he was being walked somewhere by the guy in the hat, who's still alive and doing lots of interviews, he's milking it as well, probably getting free food and everything, flown around the country. I was being flippant. I mean, I have the utmost respect for him, and he still regrets, that he lost his man. He was supposed to. His job was to safely transport Oswald to be, processed through the system. But what are your thoughts on, or explain the timeline? Like, how long was it? I know that he was shot at 12:30. He was pronounced dead at 1. The Cronkite announced the death. I don't know what the other networks what their timeline was, but about 35 minutes after he was pronounced dead, Cronkite. That's when he broke up famously on television. When was how much longer after that were you aware of who was charged, Oswald? And then how much longer was it the next day, or when was it that Ruby shot him? What was the timeline? It wasn't the same day at all.
Yeah, it wasn't the same day at all. It basically they had a huge manhunt. They did a lot. We were watching the news for at least a full day of them looking for and trying to figure out who did this. And they kept dragging in different people and interviewing different people and stuff. It was more than a day before they found that, before they actually arrested somebody. I can't remember exactly, but it was way past at least 2 days afterward before all that stuff went in and they arrested him and brought him into jail. That's the best I can remember. So I'm going to have to leave you guys, so I'll let the rest of you guys talk. We got a couple more people in here now.
Thanks, Harold.
Okay,
I'll
awesome.
see you.
So let's see who we got here. We got Alan's back. Jason Salas, you're a journalist. I don't know if you've watched any of this. I know you're like a child compared to the folks who were around. That you're a kid. So tell me, what do you think about, as you watch some of this coverage? I don't know if you've watched any of it. It's like live streaming everywhere, and we're seeing all these things with the film. And I was watching, as they said, we just have this film in of former President David Eisenhower reacting to the assassination. And I was just imagining, I mean, you're a TV news anchor, and so you're benefiting from this new technology where you can very rapidly, even from the field, report on things. They had to go into some dark room and, process the film, and like the president's dead, and you got the former president, his comments, and you're trying to rapidly I mean, any thoughts on the technology difference? And it's only been 50 years, but it's really night and day. Between what they could do and now.
Well, first of all, I mean, it's interesting because Sheila, lovely Sheila, had sent me a message in the chat, and she actually said, "Well, we want to hear your thoughts on the whole JFK 50-year retrospective thing." And I was like, "That's kind of interesting because I'm 39, so when JFK was assassinated, that was actually 11 years before I was born. I kind of timeline that significance or the significance of that event with other things during my lifetime. Like I remember I was in the 5th grade and in school when the Challenger blew up, and basically time stopped for that one. I was a junior in high school when the first Gulf War broke out, and for my generation, that was like the first time that people in my peer group had ever even uttered the word war, because we're too young to remember Vietnam. Most of us weren't even alive then. And then with technology, to your point, things like Twitter and with with Facebook, and everybody knows everybody else's business, and there's a whole bunch of noise and a bunch of nonsense going on while people try and sort out fact from speculation. It's things like Michael Jackson's death, and things like the death of Bin Laden, and things like even prior to the social web as we now know it. I was actually working at an internet service provider when Princess Diana died, and Harold was just saying, I mean, everybody I know was glued onto the TV for like the next 60 hours, like nonstop, because everybody was trying to say, okay, well, she was such a global figure, and at the same time, it's a power structure that we Americans, aren't exactly intimately familiar with. And so, like when they had the funeral for Princess Diana, I remember Katie Couric, who I don't know if you guys just touched on that, but did you guys see that breaking story, Dan, about Katie Couric now?
Yeah, she's leaving for Yahoo.
I'm chalking that up as one for the I did not see that coming department. That's pretty wild.
Well, remember Nate Silver left the New York Times for
ESPN.
For ESPN, yeah. And then Brian Stelter, I forget where he's going. Brian Stelter, the media reporter, just announced he's leaving. So we're seeing a lot of this. Because Craig was arguing that you and I are basically evil incarnate, perhaps with some validity, that the legacy media is dying, and that these new guys are taking over, these upstarts like BuzzFeed and Business Insider and Yahoo, their resurgence online, that sort of thing.
So Craig, so Jason, do you have any announcements about what Guam startup you're going to be moving to?
Oh my God, Guam.com would be an awesome URL. Craig has to grab that. Guam.com.
I remember who. I'm old enough to remember who registered that. I know the guy. Yeah, so Guam startups, very, very few and far between. It's mostly most of us out here declare nonprofit organizations just because so few companies actually make like really serious revenue. That's an inside joke around here. So many companies say we might as well be a nonprofit because we're not making any money. But to your point, Dan, it's like as a news anchor, and I remember seeing the footage of Cronkite, and for people in my line of work, he's like and someone as a sports journalist, like I see, Howard Cosell is maybe the last bastion of great communicators, and to actually sit live and be in a live environment like we are right now, but to try and report to tens of millions of people about something next to nothing about, and you're getting only really spotty, sketchy information about, it's a very difficult thing to do. And in lieu of actual fact and everything like that, you can wax, rhetorical about the historical significance just to buy time, or you can do what some people do, and you just, start speculating, and to be honest, you start making stuff up.
Yeah, I was watching, Jason, I was watching one of the reporters, and it was interesting. One of them said the way they spoke was different, right? Because it's 50 years ago, and he referred to it as a little guy with a weak chin character about him, or something like that. Just the funny, the way the terms that they would use, and also just the one reporter was saying, well, no matter how many precautions the Secret Service takes, you can't defend yourself against the one nut job. And I was like, there were no precautions. I mean, the guy was, except there was no spotlight on him. He was like raised up in the limo, right? He was elevated. Anybody could have just been there and shot him, right? He was a sitting duck. I think.
Here's the thing too.
Like said that it was like shooting fish in a bowl.
By a show of hands on this panel, for the 6 of us who are here right now, how many of you actually watched with great intent the Oliver Stone movie in 1991 about JFK?
I did not.
I did.
You guys did not see it. Okay, well, for my generation, you know, and again, reinforcing the point, you know, I was not alive when JFK was assassinated. That was really the only narrative we had on the intricacies of the conspiracy. If you want to, you know, go down that road, and you guys have probably covered that like exhaustively already. But to actually see like how deep the story went, and you know, like to the highest levels of power, like in government, and to see the cultural impact of, you know, like what him dying, you know, like a president that would be, he was the youngest president at the time, right?
I think he remains the
Yes.
youngest, doesn't he?
Yeah, and you know, to be
Or wait,
someone
was it
who
Reagan?
such a-
Was Reagan or Kennedy the young? No, I'm just kidding. Sorry.
Yeah, and you know, to see someone who was so beloved culturally, and then as the movie exposed, or you know, brought to light, I should say, you know, with certain groups, you know, he wasn't exactly, you know, the darling like he was with the American public, because he was a young guy that came from a very good family, incredibly good looking, you know, very very charismatic, and you know, I mean, he had the pulse of the people. And then to see that end the way it did, and you know, for people like me, then we actually watched the film and we saw, it was like, wow, that was really deep. It wasn't, you know, I mean, this is when the phrase coup d'état kind of like came into the public lexicon because of that film. Now everybody says, oh, it's a coup d'état, you know, they're trying to take out a head of state.
It's the perfect setting for a mystery, Jason. Right? You've got they had a lot of enemies. They had cast the communists. After the Bay of Pigs, and they had the mob, because Bobby was going after them. Then you had some guy no one had ever heard of allegedly shoot him. I think he shot him. And then you had, he was immediately, or soon after, killed so he couldn't talk, according to the conspiracy theorists. And then the guy who shot him died of cancer or like 6 years later, I think. So everyone who knew anything was dead. And so it was just and plus it was a romantic, good-looking, you know, the whole majesty thing, and unanswered questions. You know, what was his motivation?
But you know,
got to try
you
him.
cannot deny that even in the era of, you know, everybody's got a camera phone that's capable of taking, you know, like super high-res imagery, and of course everybody now owns their own photo studio, and everybody just watermarks their picture and says, oh, you know, Jason Salas Productions, and all of a sudden, you know, I can go out and take pictures of people. That lasting shot of was it JFK Jr.? I'm slapping myself for not being. And you know, he goes up there and he salutes as the hearse passes by. That is one of the most chilling images you are ever going to see.
It was his third birthday.
Keep in mind, Time Magazine was known for that for decades and decades. But that is one of the most lasting images in American history.
I saw an interview with that guy, and I think he didn't get the Pulitzer. Another guy got it. I forget what he took, but it was another epic shot. But it was Little John's third birthday, and the next day was Caroline's 7th birthday.
That's right.
And so as Harold pointed out, Harold remembered watching this stuff, and every day on the news, you'd see video on the news of Jack Kennedy playing with his kids in the White House lawn and stuff like that, you know, because they were adorable little kids. And it's just, and then you think also, as I pointed out at the very beginning of the show before he came on, there was a lot of political undercurrent to this. And the backstory, like the day that he appeared, I think there was I think it was that day, there was a full-page ad in the paper calling Kennedy a traitor in the local paper in Dallas. That's one of the reasons that Dallas has kind of distanced themselves. In fact, today they had a memorial service. It was the first ever official City of Dallas memorial service about this. They've always tried to sweep it under the rug. And the conspiracy guys sit there on the grassy knoll, and they hold a private ceremony every year, and they're the ones who paint the X's where it happened on the road and that kind of thing, keep it alive. And the city just paved over the roads, I think, in preparation for this memorial service today, which was beautiful. I listened to it because I was driving, so I was watching CNN on my phone, but I had it reversed so I couldn't see it, any police out there. But it was the first time that they had acknowledged it. They've always tried to distance themselves out of shame, that there was this, you know, in the same way that, like, we would just. I'm embarrassed. Well, I didn't live here. I'm not from Warren County, but I live here since 1990. I'm embarrassed that this county closed schools rather than let black kids in. That kind of thing. So you kind of, even though it's been many years since that happened, you still are like, man, what the hell, you know? So who wants to go next, or we can move on or whatever. I'm not sure if there's anyone who's joined us since, you know, our view count's actually gone up. We were at 19 and we have no video.
Which is pretty impressive. Nobody can see us. Yeah.
For a please stand by
and because of the subject matter, 17 of those are members of the CIA.
Absolutely. I think a YouTube technician is on the grassy knoll outside my studio and is obviously sabotaging this program. But literally, we've been going for 56 minutes, and to have 20,
so Dan is over there on the third grassy knoll. Alan's over there in the book repository, and Pam is on a.
Hey! What are you saying, Jason?
Pam is the Jason. You are the umbrella guy. There was the
I'm the umbrella guy.
Man. Yeah.
No, I'm Zapruder. I'm the guy holding the camera.
Man, can you imagine? I wonder how long that took to get out. Do we know that? I wish Harold was still here. Is there anyone left who remembers?
I'm blown away that none of you guys watched that film. Okay, real quick. If none of you have watched the film JFK by Oliver Stone, go Google it on YouTube and just look for the scene. Google JFK film, Donald Sutherland, and Kevin Costner. And in 7 minutes, that's all you need to know about the film. It is one of the. I mean, I'm a big Donald Sutherland guy. It brilliantly encapsulates the entire conspiracy right there, and it's beautifully performed.
So that was done what, 81?
91.
91.
So, Alan, you're not a big Donald Sutherland guy. I take it.
No, I'm not a big conspiracy theorist fan.
Oh, conspiracy. Okay.
So my just watching the blank screen on YouTube caused my computer to crash. I can't imagine watching 7 minutes of actual something streaming. What that will do. So
yeah, this is really something.
I'm later.
And we have a lot of comments. We have
I know, and YouTube won't even.
And there's no video.
They won't even let me comment. It says to enter a CAPTCHA, but it doesn't give me where to enter it.
I can comment on the thing. I shared a screen cap of what I'm looking at. Again, for folks watching afterward, which is obviously everyone, our live player is not working. So I'm going to show you. I'm going to share the screen here. This is what people are looking at, and then I'll go to Alan. I'm sorry. This is what I'm seeing. It says your stream status is good, and then if I go to the here, it says we're pushing 4,200, 4,300, 4,100 kilobits per second. And there's no errors at all, but it says 0 viewers, 0 time. The last time this happened, I think it corrected itself. And then if we actually go to the actual video that's allegedly live, we've had as many as, I think, 20 live viewers, and there's lots and lots of comments here. So we're doing pretty good for having no content. Craig, this is like a content producer's dream, where you can literally produce no content and have multiple viewers and lots of viewer engagement. You got to admit, for an old media guy, I'm doing pretty good.
So actually, to talk about some of the comments, I think this one is one of the best ones so far. It's a conspiracy. I'm not entirely sure if that's a conspiracy, if that's referring to the Kennedy thing, or if that's referring to tonight's show. And from Linda, I warned Dan about that wardrobe malfunction he had. He's on permanent time delay because of it.
Oh, my goodness.
So has the show to this point been all about the Kennedy retrospective?
Yeah, because Alan put all the topics in, because I laid a newspaper out from 7:30 in the morning till like 2 a.m. yesterday, and so I've been exhausted. And so Alan put all the topics in, and then said, I have to leave for an hour. So I was like, okay, Kennedy, until Alan comes back, because I haven't prepped.
Because Dan isn't interested in actually talking about any of the news subject, any of the
So this was actually a groundbreaking week for Google in the round, and we're speculating about a 50-year-old event.
So
sure, for all 19 of our non-viewers.
So I'm gonna now that Alan's back, I'm gonna pee.
Cheers.
And Alan, can you carry it and get Jason's thoughts on whatever Jason wants to talk about, and then we can do your fun topics as well.
So now at 1 hour in, we get to actually start Google Plus Week. Excellent.
Literally 1 hour and 8 seconds in. Thanks to our live viewers.
Oh, we had to wait for Jason to come in to give his spiel on JFK, so there you go.
Oh, you.
Okay, so
You gotta wait for the brown guy, right?
So first on our agenda for news this week was that Enterprise Hangouts are getting more features, but even more shockingly, they're getting some official support, which means that if you have problems, you get a phone number to call, and who knows what'll happen at that point. But if you're paying for Hangouts, you can now actually get support for your for paying for Hangouts. Anybody have any thoughts on this at all?
Would that be like the help outs?
No, those are
No? Totally different, huh?
completely. These are the if you're a Google Apps user,
Oh, okay.
the bunch of people that pay for using Docs and so forth.
Okay.
Now you get to pay for this as well. Jason is giving me strange gestures. I'm wondering what he's trying to say. Jason, what are your thoughts there?
I'm saying my company, we pay for Google Apps, and I believe it's still and okay, to address the question, because this always comes up. Yes, it is somewhat hypocritical and contradictory how people that pay to use Google services seem to be treated like second-class citizens, because everybody else on the Google proper accounts, like the public Gmail that you can sign up for free in exchange for having ads impressed upon you, they get all the stuff before the Google Apps people do. The reason for that is because Google gives you they give you service level guarantees that just say, okay, well, we guarantee that you're going to have a certain amount of uptime, like 99.999997% of the time, your servers will not go down. If you do, there are certain concessions that they will then extend to you. And so to preserve those service level guarantees, that's why the things don't roll over as fast. I'm not saying it's great because...
But Jason, there are some services that they offer, and they even offer now, where they don't offer that uptime guarantee. And they never have. So,
such as?
I mean, up until now, Hangouts weren't offered as an uptime guarantee. Google Plus isn't offered with an uptime guarantee. I need to look at what the full list is, but...
Okay, well,
it's their core services only. What this is essentially saying is that now Hangouts have been graduated to a core service.
Yeah, and you would agree though that with Google Plus and with Hangouts there's an elevated level of let's just call it capacity that those services have if you're a Google Apps user. Like if you have a Google Apps account, you can have was it 15 people per Hangout?
Yes.
Yeah.
But I'd also point out that
it's very error prone. We tried that once for the show for that reason. And they would join, and then if they left, they couldn't get back in unless they invited them again, because there's some sort of, like, if they're not in your domain, it was a big pain in the ass. So I dumped it. And before anyone makes the brilliant decision to try this and upgrade your free apps account, legacy apps account, to the paid one, if you upgrade it and you discover that some aspect of it sucks, as I did, at the end of the 30 days, they don't downgrade you back to the free one. You're shut down. So I lost my free apps account by trying this, just as an FYI. So go ahead. I'm sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
But I think that is warranted. I mean, if you are a paying customer, you should be extended a certain level of service and direct service, not just say, oh, go check out this URL that's a Python script, and say, like you're left to your own devices to figure it out on your own. You should be able to have a support team that can help you out.
Sure, and I think that's good. But, again, that's what you're paying for, ideally. Yeah. So anyway, next up was, I don't know, do we really want to talk about YouTube stuff right now? This is actually almost a breaking story. I've heard nobody else talk about it this evening.
Yes. Let's talk about YouTube.
But let's talk about YouTube.
and the comments.
No, this isn't about comments, shockingly enough. It's
really?
about how YouTube Live is going to be getting private Hangouts on air.
Oh, really?
Pre-rolls and some other nifty features. So for those of us that have Hangouts, that have YouTube Live, this is a feature that's just beginning to roll out. It's at a very low rollout rate so far, but it means that we'll be able to hold a Hangout on air that's private.
Not only that, but you can start an HOA from YouTube.
That's right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that'll be good.
So I think that's going to be an interesting set of additions. Some of the other things that are coming in is that you'll be able to do commercial pre-rolls, and I believe schedule them during the Hangout on Air even. And there were a couple of other features that were coming in at this time as well. Any other thoughts on this? Pam, it sounds like you've read up on this some more.
Yeah, I've heard about that when Paul Bruno. Yeah, go ahead.
No, it was just Moritz and I were talking about it this morning in the Hangout where he was helping me with my my phone. He just said that you had to have the live stream, so you had to have whatever streaming live or whatever it's called.
Yeah, YouTube Live.
Not just.
You have to have YouTube Live, which requires you to have 100 followers.
Mm-hmm.
It may or may not. Just as a quick aside, I saw one guy who had like 60 followers and had it. So they may have relaxed that, but it may have been something that they did, you know, not with a song and dance.
He could be. I was gonna say he could be testing it too, right?
No, it was just some normal dude who's like, I don't know what you're talking about. I got it recently, and I only have like 60 followers or something. So everyone should check. If you go to
I don't produce content on YouTube, and I don't plan on it.
But you do produce content.
Oh, come on, Pam. You don't want Thong Thursday to have its own YouTube channel?
It's just not. It's not something.
Not with my ass in it, no.
So yeah, this is an exciting thing because I think there's actually, Alan, I didn't realize this was public. But it's 100% public, right?
I posted a link to it from YouTube forum.
Okay, yeah, I didn't know
YouTube is saying it's rolling out, and it's it's not fully out yet, but this is it's beginning to roll out. It suddenly occurred to me. I wonder if we're actually testing it right now.
It's obviously the biggest success story since healthcare.gov. So yeah, so thank God I'm locally recording this, because this is a good show. So yeah, I think this is great because they've got to be able to monetize these things. And even if for most folks who have, a low view count, there's not a lot of money in it. You have to have hundreds of thousands of views to make any real money on these shows. But in the aggregate for YouTube and Google, it makes perfect sense that they would monetize this because they're paying for all this bandwidth. And why do that if you can't monetize it? So good for them. And this will pique the interest of content producers to come on. Folks like Vice, BuzzFeed, Business Insider, who might be able to come up with really good content and might consider using this as a platform. If they can get views, in the thousands, especially if it's non-time perishable content and they can continue to monetize it after the fact, then this could become another profit center for them. And
but the one thing that I would like to see is if we could finally get the very much demanded ability to start HOAs on mobile devices and on devices that aren't necessarily the desktop browser, because that's been the one thing that everybody has wanted for like a really long time. I've said jokingly that I want to do an HOA and give people a tour around Disneyland, and I would love to do that if the capability was available right now. I'd be like the 1 millionth person to do that, but I still think that would be really, really cool.
That's my biggest feature request from a journalistic standpoint. Imagine if, like you said, one of the biggest, was it the Secretary of Defense or the Vice President or some big shot came to Guam, and it was a big deal because you guys are not normally on the radar for such.
It was Arnold Schwarzenegger, actually.
Okay, so imagine
before he was governor of California, he just passed through.
But imagine there was some government official you told us a story about that he came and you were there covering it. But imagine if you could have just, you're the reporter, so during the event you're basically on the sidelines. You're doing the stand-up before and after, maybe. And imagine if during the event, as a side thing, you could have said on your TV station, by the way, check out our page. KUAM TV on Google Plus, and we'll have behind the scenes stuff. It's a whole new content thing.
You can do it today because you have to have somebody back at the base station or somebody on a desktop browser starting the HOA, and then you just jump in. It'd be cool if you could just do that,
Yeah,
inherently.
you can do.
And,
Yeah, in your situation, you could have done that easily because you have a staff back at
well,
the station.
you know, and
But
let's
for the
dovetail this
guy,
back to,
watching the explosion at the refinery or whatever it is, who's just some guy, he could just light it up on his phone and send it out there, and it's streamed live and recorded, and he captures it. And that's exactly like we were earlier talking about JFK. The guy happened to have a camera and filmed it. The Rodney King beating. I mean, all sorts of things you can think of where just a citizen on the street made a difference and brought something to light that wasn't otherwise wouldn't have come to light but for that citizen taking happen to have a camera there.
And speaking of presidents, remember when Obama first got inaugurated in 2008? They said that, remember how much additional telecom capability and facilities had to be brought into Washington, D.C. just to be able to facilitate everybody there? Not even just regular media, just everybody with a cell phone. There was Ustream and there was Qik, QIK, the service that allowed for mobile live streaming. I mean, those services almost fell over because people were using them so much.
Yeah, it was a historic event, and I think his rally in Prince William County, I could be wrong, and I think it was like almost 1 million people the night before the election. It was like 900,000 people or something. I mean, unbelievable numbers. And can you imagine trying to make a phone call or something? Then
again, enabling people on the go with the ability to start a live and broadcast like live. Imagine what that's going to do on New Year's Eve. Just for that, imagine the bandwidth spike just for that. I mean, they can handle it certainly, and they can provision for additional capacity for that. But I mean, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah, and that you'd have to make sure that you have enough data on your phone package to do that, because the video takes a lot of data.
Mm-hmm.
So some of us don't have unlimited data plans, so.
I am very excited about that. The one thing I mentioned to Craig Ship, who's had to leave, but this stuff, and he said the one thing he wants is like 30p and better quality HOAs, because the difference in quality between a YouTube live stream and a Hangout on Air stream is dramatic still. And so hopefully that they're going to fix that and merge those. It looks like they're merging them now, right? It looks like they're merging the two streams so that hopefully they'll up the quality of the HOA instead of dumbing down the YouTube live thing. The YouTube live thing still has advantages. The way I can do like a split screen here and play media, right? I'd love to be able, and one of the things that I've advocated for is the ability to play media, like an intro to your show. Like you can have a video intro, this is This Week in Tech or Google Plus Week or whatever it is, or the Navajo Nation live, and have music and video and stuff. And just to, the way I would do it is you upload the intro to your YouTube channel, and so it's cleared all the checks that they do, so they know it's legal for you to do it. And then there's no reason you can't take your own video from your own channel and insert that into a Hangout on Air, because it's already cleared the hurdles. And I wish they would do that. And then picture-in-picture and all sorts of features. But then at some point, there is a difference between YouTube Live and Hangouts on Air, and a difference in the technical abilities. And the barrier to entry for YouTube Live now is very small compared to what it used to be. It used to be invite only. There was no way to apply for it. You had to be a celebrity or know somebody. And then they said 1,000, and then they said 100. And now it's whatever it is. But anybody can still do that. There's free software that's capable of managing that, but there's an expense. I've got about 10 grand sitting around me here in equipment to do this show. But the possibilities are phenomenal. And really, we can produce the same kind of content, but for the staff that Jason could do on a TV station. I mean, the technology is amazing. The power of the citizen to produce content that rivals the quality of what the big guys do. It's just it's an exciting time to be alive and active in content production. So we're all for that, Alan.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I haven't started any YouTube lives. I'm waiting for Big Shot to interview before I do that.
You don't interview big shots, Sheila?
Huh?
You don't think your interviewees are big shots?
Oh, would you like me to interview you, Alan? You're a big shot.
I don't know. I don't think I'm notorious.
You know, Sheila, who you should interview
Who?
as a big shot? Billy Joel.
Oh, yeah. Uh-huh. Now, let me
Congratulations to the three of you out there who got that reference.
You had to be a big shot, Jason, didn't you?
Ah, thank you.
Yeah,
You're
you
welcome.
know. How about if I interview you, Jason? Huh.
I am a nobody in a market upon whom Nielsen's holy light does not shine. I don't know why you waste 10 minutes of your day.
You don't even have Arbitron.
Actually,
Jason, because you're tall, dark, and handsome. That's why.
Oh my gosh. Is it, okay, so I want to know, because I was late to the show. Which judge said you have to do community service, Pam? Thank you, though. That's very sweet, and you're both incredibly lovely. So I thank you for that.
oh, I thank you.
Okay, so since we're going to be losing Jason in a little bit, next up we're going to cover a couple of glass-related stories. So the first on the agenda was the very exciting news on glass that the Glass Development Kit has now been released. Jason, you want to give a quick explanation on what the GDK is?
Yeah, there was a pretty landmark event for the glass community this week in San Francisco, because Google, today they even admitted, and they said, of course they wanted glass not to be a product but a formal platform, like a lot of their product lines are. They wanted people to grow an ecosystem, and they wanted people to go out and write applications and services for it so it would be exponentially more valuable. And so the first framework that they built was more or less, sidestepping, the real technical stuff about it. Was basically like doing web programming, which functionally can be kind of limited, and you can only do so much with it. And of course, you need to have constant connectivity to do that kind of thing. So when that framework came out, and it's called the Mirror API, it was maybe out for all of like 2 minutes before people started saying, okay, this sucks. We need to start where we can do native programming, which is almost like writing native Android apps, and it is writing native Android apps, for that matter. And so they've been working on something and gathering feedback from programmers like Alan, and this week they finally rolled something out, and they said, based on your feedback and what you want to see, we now have a development environment. We're calling it the Glass Development Kit, the GDK, and this actually allows you to do things like offline access for your Glass applications, and do things like access these various sensors that Glass has. So you can tell where a Glass user not only is in the world, but also what his or her bearing is, what direction they're pointing. And you can tell when they're tilting their head back and forth, and do all sorts of really, really cool things. And to kickstart the whole event, they had 5 really interesting applications out there. And I don't know how many of you out there have used a really cool iOS app called WordLens, but it's basically like real-time, on-the-fly translation of languages that aren't your own, and it'll blow you away if you ever see the video about it. And that team that produced that has now produced a Glass-specific version of WordLens, and it's off the charts. I mean, it's crazy.
I have to admit, of all the ones they presented, WordLens is about the only real one that's cool. But it's pretty cool.
You didn't try the game?
I tried the game. It's pretty lame.
Spell it. Okay, well, what Alan and I are talking about, there's also a spelling game, which is you can actually create your own levels, which I think is kind of cool, and you can categorize them, like say, okay, I want to talk about college football, so here's a bunch of, and it's basically like a word scramble. You have a bunch of letters that get all jumbled all over the screen, and then you have to use head gestures and everything and rearrange them into words, and if you get the word right, then you advance to the next level. Alan apparently was not as impressed as I would.
I'm not impressed with it, and the reason why I'm not impressed with it is it's not very Glass-like. It is the sort of thing that I think does not benefit at all from being on Glass.
Mm-hmm.
If they actually, the translation one, that does benefit from being on Glass, and it works really well for that purpose, I think. Some of the other demos worked reasonably well for that, but the game one totally didn't, and I really am worried that they're encouraging that.
And these 5 applications, mind you, that they brought out were more, if people aren't running up and down the street, saying how great these are, it's kind of like, the surgery was a success, but the patient died, because each of these 5 applications was very strategically promoted to show off a specific function of what you can do with the GDK. That game that Al and I are talking about was meant to show off what is called an immersive application on glass, where you basically, the entire game takes over your entire screen, and you basically are in a completely different environment all unto yourself. The word lens thing, and the crazy thing, and I really recommend anybody watching this right now, either live or on demand, Google word lens on glass, because what you'll see is not only in the demos that they show, somebody looks at, I believe it's German text, and then the text will actually be translated on the fly as a user is looking at it, and then it comes out in English. But also what's pretty crazy is that the text is overlaid in real time above the regular text, but it matches the background in terms of the color. It also matches the perspective angle that it's skewed at and everything. So that is not easy to do.
Yeah, there are certainly elements about that one that are really, really impressive, just all told. It's incredible. And they're doing it all on the device. It's not going to a network. It's not going to a server. It's all being done on the device. That's really pretty impressive.
Yeah.
So yeah, the big news for this is that the GTK is now available. People can start working with it immediately, and they're kind of improving the distribution channel for all of the glassware all the glassware that's out there now. So it's exciting times. We'll see where people are going to go with this.
And so on that point, they also had a hackathon which accompanied that. So they got a bunch of developers, and I think there were maybe, I want to say like maybe 40 or 50 developers that congregated for that. And over a period of 2 days, all these programmers just basically like sat around in a bunch of rooms and just like constantly threw out ideas, and then got into like these little breakout teams, and then put together workable prototypes. And one of the winners of that contest, and there were 3 of them, was somebody put together a glass app that you can actually use if you're a guitar player, and it'll actually show you lyrics and chords, which if you're a guitar player like me, you always enjoy, because if you're trying to play a song, you can look down, you can see the chord progression, you maybe go from G to A to C, and you can actually see the song in real time, and so it moves through. And you couldn't really do that with the previous framework, and so that first prize. And the cool thing is that the prizes, if you won the hackathon, where you get an hour's worth of time with a Google development advisor to further refine your idea, or to ask questions as hardcore as you want. So you got an hour with them, and perhaps more importantly, you also got 20 minutes with what they call a part of the Glass Collective, which is their venture capital arm that Google set up. So you could possibly take your idea and turn it into a company if you so desire, and they'll give you advice on that. So I mean, that is worth its weight right there for staying up for 2 days and doing nothing but programming.
I have a quick update. Apparently, Linda said, Linda Laura is watching us, right? My friend in Virginia. I won't say what town because it's a secret. Duck Dynasty on Good Morning America appeared on the stream, she said, and then she refreshed, and now it's back to please stand by. So that's the weirdest thing. I swear to God, she just said that to me. She commented on it. So I mean, what the hell are they doing? This is crazy.
They don't normally do system maintenance this early at night, do they? I mean, normally they do it at like the witching hour.
Well, we know they're implementing the changes that we talked about with the HOAs, right?
No, they don't, Jason. This is actually this would be late for them to do system upgrades, and on a Friday night.
Yeah, they got
I mean, normally on a Friday night you'll see. Okay, like typically the thing is they'll roll out new product announcements on a Tuesday or Wednesday, so that This Week in Google can cover that, and then they'll have some more stuff on Thursday, so the media covers it. But then on Friday they normally say, okay, well here's some bug reports and everything like that. But do they normally do system maintenance this early on a Friday?
Isn't Friday night the least watched TV time? So really, if you were trying to pick a time, this would be the best time, right? Wouldn't it?
Their time is Monday at 9 p.m. Eastern. It is now Friday at 10:30 Eastern. And we know that it's usually Monday at 9 o'clock Eastern because that's when our Android Week airs, and they've kicked us out a number of times.
This is insane. But this is the first time I've had this kind of issue. I have no idea if it's actually saving it, because I'll share it again here. This is what everyone's seeing here. Please stand by, starting soon. We have 17 viewers. It keeps going up and down between 15 and 20 or so. And then if I go to the actual YouTube, this is the actual stream, right? So it says 0 peak concurrent here, but it still says live for 1 hour and 17 minutes. This is way behind. And then it says the stream status is good, 720p. The whole deal looks just normal, except normally I'd have the viewers here. And then, so it's interesting. I have no idea what's going on. But I'm recording it locally. Fingers crossed. I think I am. We'll see if that works. I mean, if that craps out, then we know there's some conspiracy. Craig Ship's people have obviously won at that point. So we'll see what happens. But most people watch the show afterward anyway, not live. But we love our live viewers because we don't have any comments. Actually, we have a ton of comments, which is crazy.
We have a ton of comments.
Look, we have a lot of comments. What the hell is going on?
Watching your guys' video and learning new info about Google Plus and Google On Air. Thank you. We're thrilled for that. Jason, please put your shirt back on.
Oh, that was my joke. Yeah.
Did I ever take it off?
I said
We're
I was
now watching Duck Dynasty.
I'm doing a play-by-play.
I was like, oh crap! Did I miss something?
Yeah, it says stand by.
There's no shouting tonight?
Actually, you know why we're standing by is because the concert sold out. We're in the standby line.
Okay, anyway.
Would that be the Billy Joel concert?
That's right.
So, yes.
That's right, Jason.
Play us a song, oh Piano Man.
If I didn't get
nobody gets that, man. Oh man.
Yes,
I
we're
know
in the mood
it.
for a
I
melody,
got it.
Jason.
Yeah, nobody. Everybody gets it. Just nobody thinks it's funny. The story of my life.
Which is why you do the news, not.
Yeah. Yeah. No, trust me. I've said a few. I've tried dropping a couple punchlines during the news, and it's like I have died on stage.
They're like,
let's see, that's blooper in the making, huh?
stick to it.
No, actually, no. Okay, funny story. Since we probably have 3 people watching us, we did a story. Dan, if I can just divert, we did a story about maybe 7 years ago, and
Wait,
and I was reading
diverting and Dan's not. This is what's going on here.
So my news team did a story, right, and we were doing something about people, because we had a real big problem here with our sewage system about people dumping fat and oil and grease down the drain, and then we had a real bad problem with it. So our local utility agency for the water system launched this huge advertising campaign, and they said, nobody, please don't do anything with, dumping fat and oil, and, we want to have this educational outreach and everything. So, of course, I come back on camera, I was like, so I guess you can say that grease is the word. And nobody got it.
Oh, my
nobody
God.
Freaking got it. I said,
You're trying to say that they don't have groove or feeling? It's not the time or the place?
Yeah.
I heard that you guys don't have any birds in Guam, but you don't have a sense of humor over there either, apparently. Nobody got that joke. There are literally like no birds. Do you see? I mean, is it true that there's no birds in Guam because you have the snake overpopulation that kills all the birds?
No, actually, I dispute that, because I've lived on Guam now for 34 years, and there are birds on Guam, because a bird has never crapped on my foot until last week.
Wow.
You sure
That happened
it
for the
wasn't
very
a bat?
first times.
You sure it wasn't a bat? They have those
No,
big
the
giant...
bats stay in the mountainous side. They stay like in the jungle.
Okay, serious question. Obviously on a tangent here. Like when I go outside during the daytime, especially in the morning, or if I'm driving around, there's no not seeing birds. They're all over the place. Vultures, all kinds of birds. And you hear them constantly. So is that in Guam, like if you go outside, is there like no birds? Because this is in the Wikipedia article, which, could be wildly inaccurate. We have no idea. But is there like a dearth of birds in Guam? And aren't you an island?
There are certain kinds of birds, but they're not the kind of birds. They're not the kind of birds that you see flying around. Like we don't have falcons, and we don't have owls or eagles or anything like that. Or, you know, birds that would like typically like fly all over the place. I mean, we have like these little tiny I'm trying to think of what they'd be like. I mean, we have like little swallows, and we have
Finches?
Fairy terns, like
like finches or like terns, and you know these are birds that maybe
seabirds, right?
Yeah, they kind of jump like, you know, branch to branch, or they maybe like fly up to a tree, but they're not going to go, you know, a couple miles at a time.
So like it's because of snakes, right? So like if you venture into your backyard 20 or 30 feet, will you be bitten by multiple snakes? I mean, is it like there's snakes everywhere, like the opposite of Ireland or whatever? How does that work? I mean,
you've been watching too many episodes of The Simpsons, I think, Dan.
no, this is the origin. They said that you used to have birds in Guam, and now and then.
Oh man,
somehow,
I have over 3 so far.
No, I heard that there was some sort of invasive species of snakes that came to Guam, and that they eat the birds, and so now you have no birds. Is this wildly inaccurate, or I mean, you just said you saw your first bird poop in 34 years, so obviously there's some legitimacy to it, perhaps.
Yeah, I mean, we have a brown tree snake problem, and the snakes have a tendency to, like, you know, the birds maybe, you know, foraging for, you know, food or whatever, you know, laying a nest, and then the snakes come and they feed on the birds. And the snakes also have a tendency here, because it's so hot and humid, to crawl up to power poles, and either they try and, you know, take a nap on the power poles, or they think the power pole is worth mating with for whatever reason, or, you know, doing something. I mean, I'm no, you know, biologist, but, you know, whatever. Or they do, and they cause island-wide power outages, because, you know, the snake crawls up there and winds up, you know, wrapping itself around a circuit and, you know, blows the entire power grid out. So to combat that problem, a few years ago, the Department of Agriculture from the feds, they started flying and dropping basically acetaminophen tablets into the jungles, and the snakes would go there and they'd eat those, and they'd kill the snakes.
So
this also has nothing to do with Google
crazy.
Plus.
When we lived on Guam, the houses were like brick, right? And except for there were these missing bricks in strategic places around in case of like a tidal wave or some kind of torrential flood or whatever. Yep. So the house could just drain, and the snakes would come in through the openings or whatever. So we would.
Yeah, my sister got bit by a snake in her sleep when she was a little girl.
And in my
geckos all over the walls and everything.
In my defense, I knew the story Jason was going to tell about the telephone tower, so that's how it relates to tech, Alan. So you don't get mad at me for having a rare ADHD moment.
Why would I get mad at you, Dan? I can't imagine.
Okay, so should we move on, or should we stay on the bird poop thing?
No,
that was on the bird poop.
But okay, I got to let me just get an answer from Jason on this. Seriously, when I go outside, if I drive, I will see. There's no way in the daytime I could drive without seeing multiple bird shadows going from point A to point B every day, all day. In Guam, how often do you see an actual bird?
No, all the time. They're just not, you know, flying completely overhead. I mean, we've got a lot of we don't have a lot of birds that that fly. Like we've got a lot. No, we've got a lot of.
Are they dodos? Do you have like extinct dodos?
Well, actually, our official Guam bird out here is called the Guam rail, and it's somewhat extinct right now. But it's a bird that does not fly.
Oh my God! No wonder they're dying. They're sitting ducks.
Well, you have to realize that Guam is out in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, and just like on Galapagos, you know, they develop characteristics and that are unique. You know, look at New Zealand. I mean, or Australia. All their birds, none of them fly either.
Oh, sure, but the situation in Guam is that is it the brown tree snake or the black tree snake, whatever it is?
Yeah.
And we're so far away, the migratory habits basically can't happen, because if a bird was going to come out here, it would have to fly at least 1,500 miles, which most birds can't do.
Yeah, the albatross is probably the only bird that could handle that.
And people believe that the only reason why we have a brown tree snake problem out here is because they got on a crate.
Imported.
Some people believe from the Philippines, and then they were imported here.
Yep.
You know, I mean, we had a black widow spider come in here last Christmas on a shipment of Christmas trees, and that was one spider.
Yep.
How do they find
These are the incredibly compelling stories that my colleagues and I cover on a daily basis.
You really have.
And apparently, this is the incredibly compelling story that we're covering tonight on Google Plus Week.
But luckily, KUAM has lots of nice business and community and personality feature profiles to fill in those gaps in between.
I find it
the next
amusing that
invasive species invasion. Go ahead, Anthony.
I find it amusing that this is all being blamed on tree snakes, but basically Jason is saying that big birds of prey are the ones that are not on the island.
No, it's Jason's well-known dislike for Filipinos. This has just been an ongoing controversy. No, I'm just kidding.
And given the situation in the Philippines, we shouldn't say that at all.
No, there's the tree snake was an invasive species with no natural predators.
I actually speak better. I speak better Filipino than I do the indigenous tongue out here.
Really?
Yeah, I speak better Filipino than my dad's language.
Is the Guam or Filipino beer better, though? That's the question.
I couldn't tell you. I stopped drinking years ago.
Okay. All right. So, John. Okay, I gotta hit some of the comments here. They're right. A fun, lively talk show. There's no video. And then we got. This is amazing. Literally, we have a show with absolutely no content because the YouTube screwed up right now. I think it's because they're implementing the stuff we talked about. But
I think we've got content. We're just not hitting it. There is an agenda.
But look at all this. Look at all these. I mean, we have no content going out live, and we have tons and tons of comments. It's actually
and 16 viewers.
Yeah, we have unbelievable. So that's wild. It's we've become a meme. I imagine this will be. Hopefully, someone will make this into a meme. I've never been one before.
Oh, Dan, I can totally make a meme out of you.
No, that one guy made a meme out of me. He put me on.
Oh, you're just asking for it now, Dan, especially after the video you made with me the other week.
That's funny.
Oh,
Yeah,
you're
I
in
did
trouble
this.
now, Dan.
Yeah, I trolled Alan, and the Huffington Post shared it as an excellent example of a funny animated GIF, and then it went crazy, and I commented, "Boy, Alan's going to get me back for this good," and the Huffington Post plus one of my comments. That was pretty funny. But anyway, and I think they follow our entire panel, which is cool.
Yeah. The Huffington Post follows all of me and all the Snark sisters and everything. So yeah, I think it's funny.
So they're invading. They're like the brown tree snake of Guam. They're slowly taking over. Okay, so
Jason's got 15 minutes. Okay.
All right. So do we have additional topics, Alan, perchance, other than the tree snake?
We do, but do we actually want to cover them?
We can do whatever you guys want to do. I mean,
it's your show, Dan. I mean, obviously you find bird poop more interesting.
We're back up to 19 live viewers. We don't want to disappoint. This is insane. We're literally gaining viewers.
Jason just left.
We seem to have lost Jason too.
I've offended him with my brown tree snake jokes. It's a sensitive topic. So we've we're gaining viewers with no video stream and
That's
more
funny.
comments. It's funny. I'm recording this so we can post it afterward. It's pretty. What other topics did you have in there that?
Oh, okay. You mean we actually are going to continue?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Next on the topic list was continuing the Glass story, that the Glass Mirror API is now open for all developers. So this basically means you don't even need a Glass. Yeah, thank you for the yawn, Pam. Thank you, Sheila. Okay.
There's truth in humor.
The Mirror API is now open. This means that anybody can write apps for it. You don't need a Glass device yourself. You still have no way to actually test it, but you do have a way to write them. Fun, exciting. Any thoughts on this, anyone? No, I didn't think so.
Go ahead, develop something, Alan.
I've got stuff that I'm developing. It's out there. People are using it.
For Glass?
For Glass.
Really? Cool.
Really? You sound shocked. Like you don't think I developed anything?
No, nothing. I'd like to know is, will they open glass up to the public, you know, down the road?
You mean actually start selling it on a
Yes.
consumer level?
Yeah.
Yeah, at some point. I mean, more and more there are lots of people who are coming into the program, so there's plenty of explorers at this point. But yeah, it would be kind of foolish of them not to sell this at some point when it's ready, and it's not ready yet.
Yeah. Still kind of buggy, huh?
They've
Mhm.
only just started the GDK, so you're going to see more being developed for it.
Mm-hmm.
The entire environment for doing this isn't quite ready yet,
Right.
so it's still a beta product.
Yeah.
And I think once it's ready, it'll be ready.
Yeah. Well,
Yep.
good.
And hopefully it'll cost less than $1,500.
Yeah.
If they want to sell any.
Yeah.
Of course, on the other hand, the way this is going, you may end up getting several versions for that $1,500, right?
I don't think we're going to see too many more hardware upgrades, to be honest. The current crop of hardware upgrades were to address a bunch of very specific problems.
Is it ready for prime time yet, or not?
I think it's pretty close. I think there's the biggest issue is it's going to launch and there's not going to be a lot of software out for it yet, which will make people wonder why they're getting it. But I think it's pretty darn close hardware-wise.
Do you know? I just got an interesting comment from someone, Rebecca Mushtak, who asks, "How can I use YouTube in Pakistan?" Do we know? Is it blocked in Pakistan? Anybody know?
I don't know.
have no idea.
I'm not sure. But in general, if you're in one of our international viewers, if some stuff doesn't work in your country, it could be either it's being blocked, or it's they haven't. There's some local law that YouTube is trying to figure out how they can function there within the laws of that jurisdiction, because there's a couple hundred different countries out there, right? So,
or
it takes
you're
some
running
time.
into the exact same bug that we're running into tonight, since nobody can see the show tonight.
Exactly. So Pakistan, we're on the same page as the United States, and even Guam. Nobody can watch our program. So we are one people this evening, all on the same page. Okay, so what's up next, Alan?
So speaking of being all on the same page, not really, but let's pretend that we are speaking of all being on the same page. The Google Plus app for iOS has gotten an upgrade. And with this upgrade comes the iOS users will be able to upload full-size photos. You can now also share your location and assorted other nifty features. And are any of our iOS users here tonight?
Yes.
Sheila,
Yes.
tell us about it.
Well, I haven't
You haven't downloaded it yet. Oh,
I
no,
haven't.
Why not?
I didn't know about it just now, and it's on the charger.
Yes. So you sound very excited about the full
Full res, yes.
photo upload feature. Why don't you tell us why?
Well, because that way, we're not left out. We're just as important as your Android guys. I mean, gee.
Although
'cause
I did note that the full-size photo uploads are only available for iOS 7 and up.
I've got 7 on my 5.
So you seem to luck out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you have an iPhone 4, it's not going to work.
You can install iOS 7 on an iPhone 4.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
Nobody in their right mind would, but you can do it.
okay. Well, yeah, just upgrade. Well, that's exciting news.
So the link is in the show notes if you want to look at the full set of features. But some of the others include, as I mentioned, location sharing is now working. I've loved location sharing on Android.
So what is iOS again?
It's
I'm just
the-
kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm totally.
No, oh, Pam.
Craig's not here, Pam. You can't troll him when he's not here.
Just to let you know, there's someone tweeted that there are that LAX is on lockdown. That the cops
What?
told everyone to get down
yeah,
on
it's
the ground.
at Terminal 4.
Yeah.
Really? Oh, it's got some
Again.
freaky, scary stuff going at that airport.
But it could
Sheila,
be. We don't know. It could be nothing. It could be
yeah,
just because
could
of
be nothing.
the sensitivity because of that location.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
if
Sheila,
there was a shop
every
with a-
single day, the news, because I get the LA feed, is just full of,
Stuff.
yeah, so and so killed, so and so, shots fired, robbery, murder, all kinds of stuff. LA's a big city like New York, and it just has lots of stuff like that.
It's crazy.
Yep.
So what's next,
Sorry,
Alan?
Okay, off iOS now. We're excited about that.
We have this comment from Nate Swanner. Way to go, YouTube.
These comments are great, and this is funny. Yeah, I guess
This
it's
is
not
in
funny.
response to the post that I made, calling this one of the most exciting Google Plus Week TV shows that we've ever done.
We have 22 viewers now.
Yay.
We've gone up. This is, it's funny. We've got, 22 people watching a Please Stand By screen, trolling us in the comments and trolling YouTube. That's funny. This free service that we adore and occasionally fails. But this is rare. This is very rare. I don't think this has ever happened. We've never had a whole show not work, right?
Yeah, I know you're going to be sending feedback, won't you?
No, he'll forget by morning. Anyway, so the next story is one that Pam entered. Pam, you want to tell us about it?
Unmute.
Pam, you want to unmute yourself and tell us about it?
No, I don't.
This is the show from hell.
I have no
The
idea
show
what did
from
I
hell.
enter.
This is yours. Fine. So the other so one of the other changes that came in this week is in the comment section on YouTube on Google Plus. The notification system.
Notification. Okay.
That
Yeah, I entered the story, but I didn't read it. I
why
didn't
would
know
you
I was
read
supposed
it?
to do.
Why would you think of reading it? I can't imagine. So the basics on this is that the layout for notifications has changed a little bit.
A little.
Previously, it would list all of the notifications that were active, and as you read one or indicated you were done with it, it would just keep piling up at the bottom, and you could scroll down forever. Now it's kind of broken up into ones that you haven't read yet, and a section called Read Previously. And you're able to switch between the two and see which ones you've read. Makes it a little cleaner if you actually do keep up with your notifications. Probably doesn't matter for if you don't.
Actually, there used to be early on this week, it used to be where when you were done reading it and then go back to your notification, it would drop off like you could do with your iPhone and or your Google app, and it would just swipe it across. Well, now it doesn't drop off. You just have to go back, and as soon as you go back and then look at your notifications, then it will drop off. So it's not going to always stay there. Which
Pam,
is a good thing.
Now that we've talked about it, do you have any thoughts on this, Pam? After you unmute yourself, do you have any thoughts on this? Yes, you do.
So,
Would you like to share those thoughts with us?
So just so everyone knows, it is now very difficult to find the unmute button on the top. And I keep forgetting it's down here as well. And so I have to keep trying to hover over the location for it to show up. So that's why the delay. Anyway, I think notifications in general are borked, big time.
They're whacked out, or?
Yes, they are messed up, slow.
Yeah.
I get duplicates, missing ones, and stuff like that. I think that there are some refinements maybe that need to happen in the background. I don't know.
There are no,
But,
no, Pam. Let's be generous to them here. There are no refinements that are necessary. The thing needs to be ripped out and fixed completely from the ground, freaking up! It's broken! It's bad! It desperately needs a fix! It needs somebody who can put two semicolons together! And get the bloody thing working!
Been waiting for Alan to do something like this.
So I find it odd that instead of fixing the notifications,
You
they
find it
decide
odd
to
that
add
instead of fixing
new
something, they're
features.
just gonna screw it up further? Really? Really? How many years have you been on Google Plus?
And it never ceases to amaze me. Maybe.
They don't want much.
Yeah. It's like
Just a little smoother ride. That's all.
Yeah. I don't really care if I can now, share from the Hangout window. I just want to get share
the
from the
notification?
notification window. I just want to get the frickin' notification.
Notifications
Yeah.
are screwed up. I'll click. For one, I have thousands of unread +1 notifications, and then you click. Okay, you're on the drop down thing. If you have a hot post and you're getting lots of notifications, it's pretty accurate. But then, if you just post whatever, it might be several minutes before you get a notification, and then you might get it in Gmail, but not in Google Plus. You might get it on YouTube, but not in Google Voice, and then you click on the drop down box, and it says clear all unread notification, or mark as unread, or mark as read and get rid of them. Right. The problem is it shows you like the first 7 out of 10 or whatever it is, and so you got the bottom part, and you can't see those to know if you want to mark them as read to get rid of them. And so you scroll down, and then when you scroll down, it produces a bunch of other ones below the fold.
Right.
So there's no way to actually see all the ones you want to mark as read. It's a fiasco.
Well, I think the ones that are marked red are the current things. It's like 10 at a time. They're not the whole thing. Yeah.
And I misspelled Alan's name in my humorous comment.
So we agree notifications are working swimmingly, and these latest changes only make it better.
Absolutely. Only healthcare.gov is performing better.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we have liftoff.
Next topic?
Next topic would be, as I glance down,
would be Chromecast.
I love my little Chromecast device, and I posted. Well, go ahead. Do the Netflix.
Sure. So
story,
basically, the first story on Chromecast is that the Netflix CEO has said that Chromecast is one of the greatest devices that's out there, and he's given them away for Christmas. I think he's even quoted as saying.
That's fantastic, because they're really at the top of their game as far as internet programming. I mean, aren't they singularly during prime time the biggest cause of traffic on the internet?
They are the largest amount of internet traffic right now, and between them and YouTube, they have more than 50% of the traffic on the internet.
Yeah, so that's
I forget the exact breakdown. So
during prime time, right? So like not at noon, but like during normal hours when someone would watch television, YouTube and Netflix are over 50%, and of those, if you look at Netflix singularly, then they are the number one cause for the number one source of traffic. So and they got game, man. I mean, I got my house. Excuse me. My housekeeper was a big DVD consumer, and I said, "Listen, you gotta get Netflix." And she was buying all these movies on DVD, and she said, "I like buying the DVDs. I like having them forever." And I was like, "Well, I mean, if you get Amazon Prime and Netflix, you can have basically everything you want." And on the rare occasions there's something you really want, you can spend $3, but it's less than spending, $20 on a DVD. And so I finally got her to do it, and I think
I got to tell you,
she loves it. She adores it.
I've enjoyed Netflix since I got it, but the more I use it, the more irritated I get by just what they're missing, and some of the things they're missing are bizarre.
You gotta have Amazon Prime.
No, I mean it's things like they're missing episodes of series.
Oh, really? So it's like Hulu, where they would have like episodes like I remember I was watching because I'm a newspaper guy, so I was watching Lou Grant on Hulu, and they had episodes 1 through 3 and 7 through 9, but they didn't have the gaps.
Right.
And I was like, what the hell is that about?
I went to watch the Quantum Leap JFK episode, and that was missing. No indication why it was missing. It just wasn't there. And apparently a lot of people complain about the fact that they've got incomplete series.
Well, I can tell you, my advice, Alan, is before you rant about anything on Netflix, proceed with caution. Trust me on that.
Why, Dan? What
no
experiences
reason.
have you? No, we don't want to know.
No reason at all. Did I mention my Duck Dynasty video?
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, it's a nice service. I just wish it was more complete. I find it, kind of disappointing that they've been unable to negotiate some of the deals.
But you got to admit, their UI is amazing.
Their UI is decent.
I think it's amazing. I mean,
I've seen worse.
I'm watching. I watched the whole 24 series, and now I'm on a Star Trek Voyager kick.
Good Lord, man, why?
I mean, it's like you.
Oh, you just want to watch 7 of 9. Never mind.
Yeah, I mean, wow,
So the other big deal about Chromecast, however, is a competing service, and it's that HBO Go is now also supported on the Chromecast.
A service competing with Netflix, not with Chromecast.
Yes, not with Chromecast, no.
Yeah, I think Nate Swanner is a big fan of that. He loves HBO Go.
So that's coming to Chromecast, and it sounds like that there will be additional people coming out with stuff in short order. So it seems like the Chromecast as a production service is nearing its big final, its big release. I know that when I was at the GDE Summit last week, just about everybody from out of the country went to the local Best Buy to pick up as many Chromecast devices as they could to bring them back home. So it's popular. It's popular everywhere.
Wait. A Google product that you can't get outside of the United States is popular at a Google event?
Well, it wasn't just It wasn't just at the Google event. These were people who were coming in and were taking advantage of the fact that they were in the U.S. to bring to pick up some hardware. And the Chromecast was the most popular piece of hardware they were looking to bring back. But yes, your point is taken, Anthony.
And the Chromecast just came out in. This isn't a topic, right? So it's at Staples. It's at Verizon Wireless stores now, and it said the post said Motorola, but apparently you can walk into a Staples and buy a Chromecast now. So it's in a retail store, and it's a neat. It's a neat device.
Speaking of retail stores, Dan.
Yes, sir.
There's been a new store that's opened on the internet this week that's gotten a lot of attention.
Do tell.
Do tell. This is the Scroogled store, open this week, open for business. They are selling some great T-shirts and some excellent coffee mugs. In fact, I understand that the coffee mugs have sold out. These are, if you haven't seen it, I strongly suggest it. So I think these are, they have some incredibly clever T-shirts. I think one of the ones is, keep calm while we steal your data. Some other really, really clever stuff there. I understand that the Chrome team inside Google has bought a bunch of them for their engineers. and that these are widely popular inside Google itself. Google, when asked for a statement on the subject, replied, Microsoft's latest venture comes as no surprise. Competition in the wearables space is heating up.
That's epic. Yeah, I hate. Hopefully, this will end because Microsoft has a long, impressive history, and this is absolute nonsense. This son of a bitch who's running the company now is tolerating this. These bastards doing this stuff. It really pisses me off because it's just, if you want to build a better search engine, build it and people will come, just like Field of Dreams. But the notion that you should just, if someone is, if I go to a butcher or any store, and instead of talking about their product, they just are trashing their competition, that is the first sign that their product sucks. And Bing sucks, and Microsoft under Ballmer sucks. And instead of innovating, they're litigating through this whatever they call it thing, that the latest of many lawsuits, and they're trying a PR battle. And it's absolutely outrageous, and they should be ashamed of themselves. And I can't believe that Bill Gates is tolerating this. It's just unbelievable how Bill Gates can run around the world with his PR people, saving the world from polio and what have you, and then allow this moron Ballmer to trash Google for being innovative, instead of saying, "Hey, Steve, why don't you come up with a search engine that doesn't suck, and people will search there." Instead, they come up with cheap slogans and just absolute bullshit nonsense, and this pisses me off. Forgive my French for the last 5 minutes. Go ahead.
I just want to know if on Black Friday, if the Microsoft store is going to have these T-shirts as doorbusters, because if they are doorbusters, then I am so there at 6 a.m. when the doors open.
Maybe they're secretly promoting Google Now, Alan. Maybe this is all a big...
How would they secretly be promoting Google Now?
Because, steal my data, know that I go to work at whatever time at this place, and show me directions and the weather forecast. And if you're flying, they can tell you, what the weather's going to be like on the flight, if there's going to be turbulence. But for data, that wouldn't exist. I mean, Google's actually innovating. I mean, I'm like,
yeah, but people don't
steal
think
my data, please. I know they don't. They just see these stupid slogans, and I'm sure it has an impact. And that's what pisses me off, because they're too smart to not know that people will believe this. That's why they're doing it. And it's disingenuous at best. And I just think it's sleazy and disgusting, and it's beneath Microsoft. And being beneath Microsoft is saying something. So that's my 2 cents.
You know what? I don't even know how much of it is so much the attack. I mean, maybe it's all about the attack, but as much as just getting people to go to the the Screwgood website, and maybe a few people actually find out about Bing that somehow didn't know about it before, or maybe they come back and look at it after years of not having it at the forefront of their minds, and maybe a few people are using Bing now that wouldn't use it before, regardless of the smear campaign that Microsoft is pushing. I mean, maybe someone actually likes Bing more than Google, and if they do, so help them, but...
By the way, a quick, oh my God, look at this. This is, you guys can't see this, but I'm looking at Nick Bilton on Twitter, and this is from KTLA. I see, like, soldiers at the airport. If you look at Nick Bilton on Twitter, he's got it, or KTLA, they've got it with rifles walking through the airport, and then they're evacuating
people with rifles at LAX.
Yeah, hopefully this is a false alarm. My goodness. So we'll see. So, Alan, what's next?
So, Daniel.
It would be more impressive if I said that with the New England accent, I think. I can't do a New England. My dad could because he was born in Worcester, Massachusetts.
So, Daniel.
Yes, sir.
Next up, we have... remind everyone that we've got a show Monday nights usually called Our Android Week. That's at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific, and on the next show we'll be covering a couple of interesting topics. The first of which is actually one that I think we covered a little bit this week. We'll be covering it again. Google launching Play Newsstand, replacing some of its older news delivery systems, and this is a hybrid magazine store and RSS reader. You tried it out yet, Dan?
I have not, and what I'm thinking about doing, because I looked at Currents today for the first time in about a year or more, whenever we first covered it, and I looked at it for the first time, and I was like, it still functions, and it was up to the minute news, right? So I was like, well, this is still running, and on my Nexus 7, which still does not have KitKat, and on my Note 2, I got the update for Newsstand. And so what I'm thinking about doing is updating one of them to Newsstand, because I'm guessing that will kill Currents off on that device. And then I can compare and see, just for curiosity's sake, which I prefer. But I think Currents, it's a shame. It was, I guess, a failed project. A lot of people were pushing it at first, because if you had X number of subscribers, then they would list you in the search or something like that. And so I always hate when people make an effort to promote a product and promote their presence on the product in exchange for getting some FaceTime on it, and then they kill the product off. So you've wasted all that effort. But and I have no idea if any of that will carry over. If someone was prominent on Currents, if that'll transfer over to Newsstand. So I'll see. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to upgrade one of them and then leave the other one and not upgrade to Newsstand and compare. But I mean, everyone's trying to figure out a way to monetize digital content, and Flipboard has an excellent experience, and so we'll see where they go, because that's the future. We got to figure out ways for folks to be able to afford to create content and monetize it so they can get some kind of remuneration for their efforts. And this is Google's latest foray into that.
The other story that we're going to be covering is the FCC is apparently starting to float the idea of allowing voice over cell phones during airplane flights. And you asked us to put this in, Dan, for some reason, so you know something about it, I hope.
Yeah, this is actually, they're getting a backlash. The FCC chairman, who so far so good, he seems to be a net neutrality guy. He seems to be out for the consumer's benefit and not on the take from the big corporations who want to, turn around and grab your ankles. We're taking your money. And so I'm excited about that. And then there were several announcements from him, like allowing Wi-Fi. And this is not all him. I mean, this is just, he happened to be in the seat. This is stuff that's been ongoing for a while. It's about like a year-long process for these things to come to fruition. And he's only been in office for about a month. So he just happens to be in the chair, but he's saying all the right things. So I'm all for the Wi-Fi and being able to text message and that sort of thing in a plane, because that's cool. Honey, we're an hour late, that sort of thing. That's cool. But then he floated this theory of allowing actual phone calls for planes over 10,000 feet in the air. And apparently the issue is they would have an antenna that would degrade the signal to a point where it wouldn't interfere. And they said that their concern was that if you were in an airplane with a regular cell phone at full power, 0.6 watts, that because of you're not on the ground, you're up in the air, that it would have it would overwhelm a bunch of cell things. I think that's kind of my layman's description of it. So that was their concern. It wasn't so much you would bring down the plane, but there was a big pushback and sort of a people concerned that, you know, do you want to be on an airplane where 150 people or 400 people on a 747 are all talking on the phone about stuff and you're trying to take a nap or whatever? So that's kind of interesting. And I've flown like 1,000 times or more all around the world. That may be a low estimate. I'm not sure, because from my birth, you know, I was flying constantly. But what do you guys think? Alan, you just recently flew to California and back. Would you, do you think this is something where they should be allowed to do it and hopefully people will behave themselves? Because really, people can use a cell phone on a train, they can use it on a bus, and there's no uproar.
Yeah, and they have a lot of problems with using it on a train. That's why on trains they create quiet cars that are ignored. So there are serious issues with using it on a train. I think this is a great idea with one tiny little caveat. I think the per minute fee should be about $5 a minute. So go ahead, if you've got somebody who wants to blow $5 a minute on a phone call, let them. I think it would be even better if $4 of that $5 were given to the people sitting next to you.
Pam, do you think a sin tax is the answer to the opponents of the cell phone on airplane movement?
Okay, when they started allowing dogs in the cabin, I was irritated, highly irritated.
What do you mean allowing dogs in the cabin?
Yeah, they...
Like your typical dog or like a seeing eye dog?
No, they allow small dogs as long as they fit under the, supposedly, fit under the seat. You can bring your little fucking pooch in a box or a bag or
you can bring a freaking dog on an airplane?
Yes, and
oh yeah, very popular.
Poopsie's supposed to be contained, but of course, you know, oh, the little thing is whining, and so they take it out, and so then you have a dog on someone's lap on the airplane, and I mean that was irritating enough, and now I have to listen. It's, you know, look, I go to the grocery store and I hear these conversations. I'm like, really? You're talking about this in public? I mean, I'm sad because we pay to get herded onto this thing and packed in like sardines, and we pay a lot of money to be treated like cattle. And now I have to listen to some inane conversation by, I just can't. I don't know. I think I'm going to become like that one sports guy that doesn't fly. You know,
what if your dog has to pee or poop?
They have the little, oh yeah, that's always fun, right? Because
yeah, there's no Alan Furstenberg on a plane who can fill in for that. I mean, do you take him in the thing, and the little vacuum tube, he pees in that?
No, they poop on these little diapers that they put in the lining or whatever. So then the whole plane smells like frickin' dog poop. I can't.
They have dog diapers for airplanes now, but
well, no, it's like a pad, like the
oh my God.
Yeah, the heat. You know, when the female goes into heat or whatever, or they line the kennels or whatever. These little absorbent pads that you can buy at the pet store. You know,
the more absorbent, the better.
Oh God, just horrible. Anyway,
so this is the whole thing with you. You obsess about this.
No, I don't have. I thank God I don't fly too often, because if I did, I swear I would need serious medication to just put me out for the flight.
You should be a freshman U.S. congressman. You could get medication.
Could you imagine? Could you imagine 45 people sitting around you, all having these conversations on the phone, like, oh, really? Really, he did that? Okay, well, what I want you to do is tell him he was bad and put him in the corner. Oh, God, I just can't even imagine. No, yes, I agree with Alan. $10 a minute. Easy. You're muted.
And a portion of that needs to be paid to the people sitting next to you. I really think that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, let's face it. You can get your flight paid for.
You can't wait 3 or 4 hours to talk on the phone. Really? Really? You can't?
It's like can't you just take a nap?
Exactly. Crossword puzzle.
Yeah.
You know,
there was a story though. There was a
play solitaire. I have solitaire on my phone. Play solitaire.
There was a story. I don't have a link, but if you just Google like seeing eye dog, man on plane, all the passengers walk off.
I heard about that.
That was really something. Now, often when you hear these stories, the version you hear, you know, you weren't there, so you don't know what exactly happened.
Yeah.
But the news I heard, which again I've no, you know, no Snopes test for this, but they said that there was a guy who was blind or visually impaired to the degree that he had a seeing eye dog, and he went on an airplane, and the dog is allowed as long as it fits under the seat. Well, the dog got restless, or there was like a delay of half an hour or 90 minutes or whatever it was, and the dog went out, and then they ended up kicking him off the plane. And the other passengers were so outraged at the fact that this blind person with the seeing eye dog was kicked off the plane because his dog got restless sitting on the tarmac, that literally all the passengers disembarked and said, we refuse to fly on this plane. And so that, you know, became a viral news story. Now, I have no idea if this is accurate. And I love the comment from Phil Wilcox here. Best show of the year. I appreciate that, Phil. We have lots of viewers who are watching nothing because we're not broadcasting live. Yeah, so that was interesting. And again, I have no idea if the validity of any aspect of that. But it just shocks me that you could have a regular dog on you know, and sit in your lap and everything's cool. You know, you're flying around and the dog's peeing and pooping everywhere, and they'll hand you a handy wipe, and everyone's cool with that. That's just mind-boggling. I mean, it's come a long way since my British Airways days of you know, eating smoked salmon and caviar and free booze and you know,
and you pay a crap load of money to fly jammed next to 2 other people.
Okay, you know? How about if you just put some Pampers on the dog?
No, put him in the cargo bay. I don't want him on the plane. I mean, they have temperature controlled areas in the cargo bay. Put them there. That's where the cats have to go.
Mm-hmm.
So you can have a dog but not a cat. So this is discrimination, blatantly.
I would prefer no pets. I would prefer no kids on the plane if I could.
Maybe they could have a pet section.
Yeah, put the kids in the cargo bay, right? And they can dog walk.
But you know, I remember when you could smoke on an airplane.
Really? Oh, yeah, they had the smoking section in front.
That's right.
And you could still smoke.
Yeah.
That I hated.
So, it's just Dan, another thing.
So, Dan, how was your Google Plus week?
I swear to God, I was about to say, Alan, how was your Google Plus week? Okay, so I apologize, first of all, to our viewers. I don't know why I'm apologizing since no one can watch it. But we have we've hit the mid-20s during the show, which is pretty good for having no live stream. I mean, just a please stand by thing. So I apologize for that. YouTube, as we discussed earlier, they're incorporating some Hangout on Air technology into the YouTube Live system. And I'm guessing that is the cause of the glitch because this is the first time this has happened. But this is a great...
You're overly optimistic, Dan.
Well,
He's hoping.
It's a free service, so I'm not going to bitch, right? Too much. If it happens regularly, then I'll start bitching. But it was kind of interesting because it was a unique phenomenon we got to observe as we had lots and lots of live comments and lots of live viewers for a program that wasn't being broadcast. It's almost like the Super Bowl, you know, is blacked out and everyone's still tuned to the channel and commenting on it. How crazy is that? So that was fun.
They are dedicated to Dan.
They're dedicated to Google Plus Week,
to the show,
the longest running program. Even we don't even need to broadcast video. We could just phone it in, obviously, or telegraph it in. So anyway,
Wrap up.
for folks thinking about Kennedy, we appreciate that, and it was interesting. I wasn't there, I wasn't alive, but I appreciate the strong emotion that's been invoked over this, and it was really interesting, and it was great to be able to talk to folks who were alive then and get some perspective on that, because to me, you know, a black and white picture of history is a black and white picture. You know, it could be Lincoln or Kennedy or World War I or whatever, but to actually be able to talk to people who, you know, were around then, and it wasn't that long ago, was very interesting to me. And I got the paper out yesterday. We did a Kennedy issue. We my managing editor is a huge Kennedy fan. He's 20 years older than me. I'm 45. He's 65. And he pushed me, and at first I was like, man, it's not local. I don't want to do it. And then as I saw the coverage ramp up everywhere, I was like, okay, we'll do it. So I laid the paper out myself yesterday, start from like 7:30 in the morning till about 2 a.m. So that's why I'm like a zombie tonight. Every other week I'm a zombie on this show because I've laid the paper out. So I did a special pull-out, like collector's edition tab in the middle, so like a 12-page thing, and we give the paper away. So you know, it's not like we're trying to sell product, and we sell out, or you know, everyone takes them all anyway every time. But it was interesting and fun. I learned a lot, and so it's been really interesting watching the coverage. And I would encourage you, especially if you have kids, to watch some of that stuff, because CBSNews.com, and I think NBC's doing a similar thing. CBS News was on for 4 days straight, 24/7, and covering this, and they're streaming it live on their CBSNews.com website. If you go to my stream, you'll see the actual link to the stream, or just go there. I'm sure they have it. But it's really educational, and it's interesting because it's, as much as people can describe something, when you're watching the live coverage as it unfolded, it kind of puts you in that place, and you can have a better perspective. It doesn't transport you back in time like Sliders, where you can actually relive it, but it's the next best thing. So for their, you know, technological disadvantages compared to today, CBS did a pretty good job, as did I guess all the networks covering it. So my Google Plus week was good. It was it's been a somber day because of the JFK stuff. Well earned somberness, because it was a tragic event. A very popular and regal, majestic family was impacted in a very negative way, one of several tragedies for that family. So anyway, it was interesting, and I had fun parts of the week, and so that was my Google Plus week. Alan, how about you?
What? Whoa! Oh, my Google Plus week. Sorry, it was frozen there, I think. Ups and downs. It was started off fairly well. I was in Mountain View attending the Google Developer Expert Summit. So I got to meet about 60 other GDEs on a variety of different software development areas inside Google, or that work with different efforts inside Google, and it was good. A lot of discussing about where we saw our products working together, the things we liked and didn't like about the APIs, and a lot of good camaraderie. You know, just sharing ideas and sharing, you know, some common vision. So that was pretty good.
Tell us about the food, and tell us, okay, for those of us who have not been to Google proper, right, in Mountain View, tell us what it physically looks like as you approach. How big is it? What's it like when you go in there? What kind of security is there? What's the food like? What are the people like? What do the offices look like? Are they fancy? Tell us, take us there. Don't show us. Don't tell us, show us. Tell us what it was like.
I posted several pictures, and my theme for the pictures tended to be Google bicycles. They have a fleet of bicycles that they maintain that are around campus, and people are expected to just grab one from where the nearest one is when they need one, ride to where they're going, which could be across campus, which is, you know, could be a mile away.
The guy who maintains the bike fleet probably has like a PhD and moonlights at the local college. I'm sorry. I saw one post that said, you know, I knew everyone at Google was smart, but I'm surprised that the chef is smarter than I am.
I posted that. That was a friend of mine who works at Google said that.
Proceed. I apologize for interrupting. Go ahead.
No, it's okay, because it's a good quote. So, but part of it was also, you know, I captured these bikes in some very nice pictures. I thought it was one of my better sets of photos. But it kind of was an example of what campus is like. The core part of campus is 8 buildings clustered around 2 different quads. And if you can think of what a college quad looks like, that's kind of what these buildings looked like in a lot of ways, except, you know, they were modern buildings. And then scattered around it are dozens or scores of additional buildings that Google owns. I don't even know how many buildings they have on campus in the area.
Someone just posted an aerial shot. Let me see if I can find it.
But it's truly astounding to realize just how big the campus as a whole is. And to think, you know, you've got the you know, a ton of people working on all sorts of Google products in this area. In fact, while we were there, I only visited like 3 or 4 different buildings. That's where most of the groups that I was interested in were. So we were brought from our hotel via a chartered bus, and had most of our meetings in one of the buildings that they call their partnerplex, where they meet other companies that are partnering with Google or whatever for various reasons. Had a number of seminars, a number of breakout groups into smaller rooms and so forth. We had breakfast was catered in that room, was very good. Lunch and dinner were held at Google cafeterias, and the food was excellent. It's pretty amazing just to see how much what kind of a grand scale they do here. To give an idea of just how many people are on campus, there are 31 different cafeterias run by Google across campus. And I only know that there are 31 because one of the Google Plus developer relations people that I knew is new there. This was his first visit to Mountain View as well. And his goal was to eat in all of them before he went back to his home location. And he said it's going to be quite a challenge. But it's I don't know, it's exciting. There is this sense of that they can do anything there, and it permeates throughout the entire campus.
You know, from what I understand, they take care of their employees with that type of stuff, you know, with the amenities that they have.
They take care of them, not just with the amenities, though. They take care of them
I posted that link in the Hangout.
Yeah, Alan, go into that.
Let me just finish.
Go ahead.
Let me finish responding to Sheila. It's not just that they take care of them with the amenities, because they do. By all means,
right.
They do.
But
it more than that. I was speaking to a friend who had worked in a number of big companies in the past, and I said, you know, how is Google different? What is it really? You know, you've been in a lot of big companies. Is there any difference here? He said, yeah, the biggest difference. You know, every company gives you something to do, and they kind of push you to succeed. You know, push you to do something for the company. The biggest difference is that at Google, they give you everything you need to do it. They give you every possible thing you could need to actually succeed in your task.
Well, they give you what you need to never leave the campus. I mean, the only thing that's missing are beds and pillows, right?
They have beds and pillows.
Yeah.
No, my point isn't just, yes, they give you all those amenities. It's that the work that you're doing, they are actually empowering their employees to do the work. I mean, Pam, you work in a big company, correct?
Yes.
How often do you feel like, you know, your boss asks you to do something, and you're just like, I can't do this because I need to coordinate with this other division, and they're not talking to me, and I need this sign-off from this vice president, and their secretary's snowballing me, and, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay? The difference is that Google, each person is empowered to get it done.
That's what I mean, is they take care of their employees. I mean, they value their employees for what they have to offer.
Well, also, I mean, let's not kid ourselves. They have a cash cow in search revenue, so they have tons and tons of money. they can throw at stuff. You know, crazy ideas that could bear fruit, like balloons in the sky in Africa, right? I mean, what other company's doing that? I mean, that's insane, but it's awesome at the same time. So they have the benefit of cash resources that other companies don't. Like if someone comes to me and says, you know, I need this resource, I have to weigh, like, you know, how much are we spending this month and what's the revenue and, you know, how am I going to make payroll? Google doesn't have that problem. So that's a big advantage that allows them that luxury of treating them. I mean, those folks are very blessed because two guys at Stanford came up with this brilliant idea that has borne fruit, and now they can do all these things.
Dan, but to contrast it, you know, but Dan,
Alan's right, by the way.
Thank you. You know, I mean, if you've got an employee that you're asking to do something, you actually want them to succeed at what they're doing, right?
Right.
Yes.
And yet the number of companies that say they want their employees to succeed at what they're doing and yet don't give them the resources to actually do it is huge. I mean, you know, Pam and I have worked at big companies, and we've seen it. We've seen the fact that really sometimes you wonder if they're just setting up your employees to fail.
I work for
or if anyone talks to anybody.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you wonder about that at Google sometimes, honestly. But here it at least seems like Google is trying to have their employees succeed because they know when their employees succeed, the company succeeds.
That's right.
I want to ask you about the food, Alan, before we go to Pam.
You missed my comments about the food, apparently. But okay, go ahead and ask me about the food.
I want you to elaborate. Like, describe the variations, what types of food establishments there are, like low end, high end, or is it all the same? What's it like when you walk up? How many people are eating?
It's free. It's free, Dan. You don't pay for the food. So what do you mean low end, high end? It's all
I mean, there
free.
could be. I'm sure there's like a place where you can get a little sandwich, and there's a place where you can get maybe filet mignon. I don't know, no idea. I'm just trying to get I want to be. I'm curious what it's like over there. What you saw, Alan?
I'm trying to think.
They do run out of some things, like some popular dishes or whatever. They do run out, so they make a finite amount of certain dishes and stuff. And the only reason I know that is because I happened to ask. But yeah, so that's all I know about the food.
It's good food. I mean, we were at yes, they've got restaurants that have different themes at them. So we went to the Mexican-themed cafeteria, which was excellent. You know, make burritos in front of you to your request. That was the big item there. In addition to the regular round of drinks, they also had an iced rice milk drink and an iced coffee drink as well.
How many people? What's the seating capacity? Are these little tiny cafes? Or are these like 4,000 people, or what? I'm trying to picture this.
The iced rice drink is called horchata.
Thank you, Pat.
I'm embarrassed having been
whatever.
Born in Japan,
it was really good, and I wish I had more that day.
How big are these places?
That cafeteria would probably hold about 100 people, maybe 200. I'm bad at estimating like that, but that would be my guess. Is a couple of hundred.
Were most staying and eating there, or most like? Is there like carry out, and you can take it back to your office on a tray?
There is carry out. There were carry out boxes for all of them. I know some people did because we would see people carrying the cafeteria boxes around, but a lot of people sat there and ate and talked to coworkers or talked to friends from other parts of campus that they would meet up with.
How many celebrities in our geeky tech world did you meet?
How many celebrities in our geeky tech world did I meet? That all depends who you define as a celebrity. So certainly there were the other GDEs there, which, some of these are pretty big names. They're developers who have been doing a lot of stuff that you might not know their name, but you might recognize some of what they've been doing in their fields. I recognized a few of them only because I had seen their work. Other than that, not a lot. Natalie Villalobos was there doing a presentation, and it was great to see her again. It's always great to see the Google Plus developer relations people who I know who, many of you probably don't because you don't develop Google Plus software. A lot of it was focused on developers. So there was not a lot of the more public figures that we see a lot. We didn't meet up with community managers, for example. We didn't see Google top executives, obviously. But Louis Gray did a presentation. It was good to see him. So we saw a couple of the names that are out there, but for the most part, it was focused on developers
with great food.
With great food.
All right. So who's left? Pam?
Yeah. I have nothing to say.
That's Anthony's line. You can't steal Anthony's line.
Yeah, my Google Plus week was okay. I mean, as soon as I updated my phone with the new Google Plus update and the new Hangout update, immediately broke both, and I was able to get Google Plus working, but not the Hangouts. So Moritz was nice enough to go in, help me this morning in Hangout to get it fixed, and I spent 4 hours on it last night trying to fix it myself, and it turns out I did everything he told me to do. I just didn't do it in the order he told me to do. So I'm getting much better at troubleshooting my own crap. So
we're gonna make a geek out of you yet, Pam.
Yeah. Now, if you could teach me how to code, then I'm there. I'm trying to learn Visual Basic, and oh my God, I am not. I just don't think that way. So we'll see. But yeah, that was it. Notifications are totally messed up. Chrome is slow. I'm just hoping they're just not loading it up so that my computer runs slow all the time. It's running so hot right now. I have a fan on it. With Hangouts open and everything, it just pings that CPU up. I'm really hoping that they're able to streamline it a little bit. Otherwise, I mean, I can't afford to go out and buy a new computer just to do these Hangouts, right? So, Anyway, rant over. Hulk Hogan followed me back tonight.
Really? I did circle him. But.
Were you part of the Hulk Hogan Hangout on air?
No, I wasn't. No. But I commented on one of the posts or whatever and said something to Mark Trappenhagen about Thong Thursday or whatever, and then he followed me back. So
that's what got him.
Yeah. Well, I commented on Michael Bennett, one of his posts, because he's also a photographer, and Hulk had commented on that, and I says, "How do we know you're real?" And Michael's going, "Well, you better watch the show then." It's like, he's just getting onto G+. How do you know he's the real guy? Because he's not been verified just yet.
He's verified.
He's now?
Verified? Yep. Yep.
Okay.
Because he wasn't initially.
Yep. He is now.
Well, good.
All right. Did we hear from Sheila on her Google
No, we
Plus?
didn't. Sheila, how was your Google Plus week?
Well, I like my Google Plus week because, I like the YouTube Google Plus interaction, because you can comment on the YouTube, and then it goes on to your G Plus stream. Well, one thing I did not realize either is when you give someone a +1 on Google Plus, you're giving that post a thumbs up on YouTube.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah. And I like that. I like the way they're merged. So.
Well,
anyway,
that's a controversial topic, and
but a lot of people don't like it, but I do.
And if we could actually be seen, we'd see the controversy, I'm sure.
I don't have the spam like a lot of people do, the hate comments. I don't have those.
Dan, you need to link Sheila into that one post.
Which one?
The one that the trolls just went after me and
Oh, the show we did about it when
I played with the trolls. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was epic. Yeah. You know, this is going to die down like anything. I think one analogy I made was the government shut down, and then that was all the news, and then the healthcare.gov site opened up, and nobody was thinking or remembering the shutdown. These are fly-by-night issues. It's a bunch of adolescent morons who want to troll posts with the luxury of anonymity, and they're bitching because they can't do that anymore, or at least it's more difficult. And some prominent YouTubers capitalized on that aggression and made videos. And I say to them that if you feel that strongly about it, you should just eliminate your AdSense account and stop monetizing YouTube videos if you don't like it. And you know, take your marbles and go elsewhere. Maybe go to Bing or Blip TV or some other platform and make pennies to YouTube's dollars. It was just the most hypocritical thing I've seen, and a bunch of bad behavior from children. And I don't care. And if they want to leave the platform, that's fine. No love lost. So I think it's a 2 or 3 week issue. That's what I said from the beginning, that they're all going to rant. Every time YouTube changes anything, they bitch because it's a juvenile audience primarily. So, you know, it's a non-issue, but it's fun to cover and talk about. And we had fun covering it and talking about it. But it's going to go away, and it's already largely gone away. I mean, I don't see like any kind of memes about it anymore. And you know, in the end, they own the thing, and they can do what they want with it. It's their property. So if you don't like it, you can leave, but there's nowhere to go to because, you know, that's the footprint to be on. So they had to fix it, and this was the logical way to fix it. So that's my thoughts. Anything else before I close?
No, we're good.
Folks, thank you very much for watching. We appreciate it. This is Google Plus Week.
That is, of course, assuming any of you are watching it.
Well, they'll be watching it later. Most watch afterward. It's 90% after the fact anyway, so we only lost 10% of our audience. And we'll probably actually have a really good view count on this one, I'm guessing, because there'll be controversy over the fact that we weren't live and everyone wondering why and talking about it. So, you know, plus the Kennedy thing, you know, that's always good. But I enjoyed that a lot. Hearing from Harold and Sheila and getting your views on what it was like as little kids, witnessing that coverage and the reaction you got from it. And so I wanted to acknowledge that. I talked to Alan before we did the show a few hours ago, and I said, do you think this is, you know, I think it would be conspicuous if we didn't talk about that because it's what everyone's talking about.
And I said, yeah, a couple of minutes on it would be fine, but I know you, Dan, you would drag it out to an hour.
And he did.
And he did.
Because, no, the reason I drug it out to an hour is because Alan, because I was
gone half an hour, Dan.
I was so tired that
I was gone half an hour, Dan.
I didn't read any of the links. I was incapable of describing them. And so I knew I had to stretch. And if anyone can, like, talk and stretch, Dan McDermott, the former award-winning, the Virginia Association of Broadcasters, award-winning radio talk show host, I can talk for as long as you want. Just wind me up and let me go. Folks,
just
ahead.
Real quick, I am doing a Google Plus hangout in real life tomorrow in Carlsbad. So
you're getting all social on us, Pam.
Awesome.
I know.
If folks want to find out about that, where do they go? Pam Adger on ADGER on Google Plus.
All they have to do is click. If they do go, I posted it twice. So
it's google.com/plus hotmom69 and you'll find the post.
Yeah, Jonathan would
today.
give me that. Yeah, so it's on my page. You can find it. So it's in Carlsbad tomorrow, 4 o'clock. So
I see your mustache pick up now. That kind of kills the vibe.
Yeah, I posted about that too. I said, you know, every year I do this Movember thing in one way or another, and I don't get the creepy peen hangout requests or anything during the whole month that I have a mustache. I might be onto something. So I that's definitely a deterrent.
Thanks so much to the panel. We appreciate it, all of you. We adore you, and thanks to our archive viewers, since there are no live viewers. We appreciate it. We have a healthy number of comments, which is mind-boggling. This is a whole tonight's show could be a topic for next week's Google Plus Week. It was such a fiasco, but we appreciate it, and thank you so much. We do 2 shows. Our Android Week is Monday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, 6 p.m. Pacific, and that's every Monday night. We were delayed this past week, but normally it's Monday night. And then Google Plus Week, which is the longest running show, #1 Google Plus show, and that's every Friday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 5:30 p.m. Pacific. Although we have our occasional glitch, as you can see. So in any event, thank you very much for watching or listening and commenting. We really appreciate it. It's so much fun. We all do this for free. It's just a blast. So to all of you watching, after the fact, you still count. We appreciate it. And to all of you, I want to wish each of you an epic Google Plus Week.